Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right! Episode 156 of Shirt Show. We're spending our 3-year anniversary with the Dave Gardner. Let's go!
You pounding some mac and cheese right now? What is that?
Well, I thought that we would bring in the new year and celebrate 3 years with like one of my favorite meals. I mean,
First of all, I'm appalled there's no hot dog slices in that.
here you go. Take a little bite. Open up. Here comes the plane.
Isn't that how you eat mac and cheese?
That's how I do it.
Yeah. Get those noises.
It's been a busy day here. And this is
Yeah,
like lunchtime.
Same.
So,
Yeah.
but cheers, man. Like it's,
Yeah. Hey, for those who don't know, this is episode 156. This is 3 years for me and Andy. 3 years, you motherfucker.
I mean, do you know? So about an hour ago, for reminiscing, I pulled up the very first video with Jonathan, and I got about a couple minutes in before I started to cringe a little, and I was like, I can't watch this. But and so I'm sorry for everyone who that hears about our show and is like, hey, let's.
Yeah. Like, sorry to all the early guests, but like, you should just start maybe on like 40 or 50.
Yeah, I mean, there is stuff there. Every once in a while, we'll get like a message that says, hey, just listen to episode 10 or whatever. And it was awesome, and it's so weird because I first of all, don't even know what we talked about. And
Thing is, it was fucking two dudes that know nothing about IT, know nothing about like doing a podcast. And we're like, hey, let's just talk to each other and let's do it on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we got slightly better. Like, we're slightly better now.
What does it say? Isn't it like 10,000 hours and you're good at
like
something?
an expert at something? Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we? 4 hours approximately times 156. Hold on.
I have a calculator in my hand.
It's like 600 and something.
We are so far away.
So we're how many 10,000? So we're not even like 10% there. Fuck.
No, we're still amateurs by far.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay because we're having fun and we are doing a little bit more than that. I thought it would be cool. We did anyway. We thought it would be cool if we shared three things three
things we've gained or learned from doing the shirt show for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why don't you kick it off, bud?
I gotta kick it off.
Yeah.
Well, not to sound dorky, but like, I feel like I've gained a lot of perspective on life and my industry. And I've said it many times, but this is my therapy. This is my weekly therapy. Like, I've gone to real therapy before for not good things. But this is the best scenario for me for therapy. Like, I get to talk to you about all the bullshit that happened to me at work all week. And we figure it out. We come up with real solutions, not just someone being like, well, tell me about your past, blah, blah, blah. And then I say something and they're like, well, how do you feel about that? I'm like, how about you give me the fucking answer so I can fix this shit?
Yeah. And, sometimes it is just a matter of getting it off your chest. Like maybe I don't have the answer, but at least you, got to say it and think through it and get rid of some of the bad energy if it's a bad thing that happened anyway, So, I mean, I think I agree with that. It definitely has been therapeutic for me too. Every week I look forward to, jumping on here and talking about the day that I'm having or the week that I had or what's coming up, tomorrow or the next day, because Entrepreneurship is a lonely,
But that's what we've learned is it doesn't have to be because you have the same problems I have. You know what I'm going through.
I do. Sometimes I know before you do.
Yeah. Well, I'm not weird. To sound like a dick, but just like the years difference of like you've been in spaces that I've been in and like what you did and didn't do.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but there's also, I also learned from you,
No, I know.
So,
I know that obviously. Jeez.
Most everything I know is from you,
Right. But there's a lot of personal shit I've asked you that we figured out. Well, back to my original. I think doing this for 3 years straight every week has helped me a lot in my personal life. Gain perspective.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. You go.
My turn? Okay. First one I have is that met some great people and developed what I hope are some lifelong friendships.
Yeah. That was my number 2 was meeting people I never would have. Not never, but like it gives us some opportunities to meet people like today, like talking to Dave Gardner. Like the only way I feel like I would have talked to Dave Gardner otherwise would have been to like fanboy up to him at a show and then like, hey, talk to me for 2 hours, please.
Yeah, like we could maybe you and I kidnap him at a show, like hold him hostage.
Right.
And he has to tell us his story and then we'd let him go maybe.
Right. But I get this opportunity to, sit down with him and just shoot the shit and have fun with it. You know what I mean? The other part of that, I'm going to go into my number 2 also is just like creating these text groups and channels like the Discord and the Mile Boys. Like anything we want to know in our industry right now, we fucking text it into one of these groups and someone always has the answer. Like how often do we ask a question and they're like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, not very often. Somebody knows.
Yeah. So it's just like a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. And it's not just the answering of a question. It could be a connection. So let's say you have an issue or you're trying to, get some information on something. You put that out there and somebody might have the right connection and they can put you in touch with the person who does have the answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's number 2. That's
my number 2.
Okay. Man, we're moving through these quickly. All right. My number 2 is you're gonna love this one. No, Dylan. It's not because I have the.
You got the fiber. Oh, the wipes. Good wipes.
Yeah, they're flushable, plant-based.
Don't flush it.
Shea cocoa. It says flushable.
Don't you dare flush it.
They basically disintegrate in my hand. Like when I get them out, they're not.
Just use your hand then.
Yeah.
I just used my hand for years. I just washed it afterwards.
Okay. For all the normal people out there, these are great. Like you just pull them out and they're like wet wipes that you can flush. And so there's
you just wet your hand. I don't have fingernails, so I don't have to worry about anything getting under there. In
the unfortunate circumstance where you have to, number 2 at work, I highly recommend. Okay. But my real number 2, which I almost don't want to say after your spiel just now, I've learned to be more like you. and
it couldn't have been perfect.
And go with the flow. You go with the flow. And I'm like, when I'm here, and I think we've talked about this before, I'm in control. This is basically anyway, although I've learned to let, I think if you're a good leader, you kind of get out of the way a lot of times and let the flow happen here too. But I mean, like I sometimes in the past can be difficult.
Just be a dick. Say be a dick.
And I like things a certain way. And when they're not that way, then I am a little unhappy. And I'm not like a Karen, freaking out or anything, but
you're an Andy.
I'm an Andy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not very likable. And so I was like, and I think actually that sort of happens as you age. You give less fucks, and you probably get a little more, if something goes wrong, maybe you're irritated. But now I reached a spot, and you've taught me that, hey, I just need to chill. It's all going to be okay, man. It's all going to be okay.
I don't necessarily think that's entirely true. I think that it's true that you may learn to be more like me and let things slide. But I've also learned over these 3 years that I shouldn't let as much slide as I do.
Oh,
so that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of discussions that me and you have on the show and off the show where, like, even this past year, like, I've talked openly on this about all my fucking HR issues and everything else. It's like a lot of that shit stems from me just having the I don't give a fuck attitude. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll work itself out. And then it just doesn't. And it stews up. And then I kind of get fucked. But if I had that Andy attitude early on and would have addressed it and been a dickhead, then I probably wouldn't be in the boat I was in.
Are we learning right now, right here, that life is all about balance? Is that what it is?
100 million %. That's what I'm saying. You need this fucking therapy. You need balance. You need to be a dickhead when you need to be a dickhead, and you need to have compassion when you need to have compassion.
Yeah. So very well said. I think you need to go with the flow sometimes, and I think you need to be a dick other times, and you have to have the wisdom to know the difference. Like when to do what, you know what I'm saying? When to be Dylan and when to be an Andy.
Yeah. And I think you ultimately know, like, your gut instinct as soon as that thing happens is, I should say something about this. I think the longer you stew on it, you're like, I'll just let it go. And then you let it go. And you knew fucking right off the bat, you should have said something. So I feel like when you have those feelings, that's when you be an Andy. And when shit's just overwhelming and it's just happening, maybe just be a Dylan and just let it slide.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So do you have, what's your number 3?
The tips and tricks. Shit we've learned from people. The tips and tricks from people.
Mm-hmm.
There's like so many things, and I don't even recognize them anymore just because there's so many things like in the shop that I've heard on the show, or things people do with management or presses, or just stupid little tips and tricks that are now part of my shop that just make things so much better. Like one thing in particular would be like the heat presses and the DTF and the, I don't know, like lots of like fucking baby wipes. Like lots of shit like that, like by listening to the show, not to toot our horn, but if you listen to all these episodes in the show, you'll be way fucking smarter and have way more tips and tricks.
I think that not just during the shop hack segment or anything, which came about later. Stories. Yeah, just people's stories. We'll be talking about something and we'll say a way we do it, and because maybe we're not doing it right, and somebody will hear, oh, well, I do it this way. And you're like, oh man, I never thought of that, and so the trick is going out and actually making that change though, because that's hard.
The other part of it too is that we'll do an episode with somebody and then we'll get DMs that are like, oh, well, I do this. And like, they give us a tip or a trick or something, and it's awesome. The reason that we have that and then we talk about it later and share it with everybody is awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a number 3 or?
I do.
Okay, hit me with it.
I think that doing this every week and discussing some of those things, and coming up with ideas and maybe just group think, when 3 people get together and they start talking about their shop or some, I don't know, something that's evolving in the industry, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Then I want to hold our shop accountable. Like I want to do that stuff. I want to make it better. And so knowing that I'm going to be coming on next week and you may ask me, hey, did you do that thing or whatever? I want to, it sort of inspires me. Yeah, I don't know if it's competitive.
I think me and you have
Um,
competition.
Well, yeah, I mean, from day one.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like you were saying that if I said, did you do this thing? You feel more compelled to do that thing because you know if you don't get it done, I'm going to bust your balls about it.
Yeah, that's fair. And I deserve it. And so I think that
how many times did you and Frank bust my balls, or even Alex, about being sole proprietor? You know what? I've been in talks back and forth for the last week with a lawyer to do LLC for the building, S corp for the business, like all this other stuff. Like it's happening. And every time I go into a meeting with them, I'm like, I have to get this done because my balls are so fucking beaten and bruised from my friends telling me I have to get this done.
The only reason is that because I need them to shut up.
That is literally the only reason. Other than that, I have no worries.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so you would agree. So this sort of holds us accountable. Like every week. It's healthy. Every week we are checking in, with therapy in a sense and saying, hey, so how did it go? Did you improve? Are you still, having issues? I mean, what's going on? And so I think that, like this show has inspired me to be a better shop and then also a better person because just like we said earlier, I want to be more like you, and so, and not just you, like I also talked to, some of the guests. I was like, man, that fucking guy is so cool. I want to be more like him. Those are
like some of our best friends now, like people we talk to daily.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Except for Tony, not really.
Yeah. What a dick.
But
here's the 3 years, bud.
I can't hear you clapping. It's a silent clap.
Can you hear that?
How do you do the jazz hand, or is this how you clap? That's jazz hands.
Chad, can you add in some clap noises?
Oh, is it the snap? Is that?
Can you do like a laugh, like not a laugh track, but like a cheer track for us right now?
You mean like we have a live studio audience or something?
Right.
Okay.
They're like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yay.
It's fucking do it a little different than that, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Have my babies, stuff like that,
Oh, by the way, are we recording? I don't know.
I fucking hope so.
We still haven't gotten this down yet. We should
156 down, and we still don't fucking know what we're doing.
And you know what? Good. I say good to that.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never change, bud. Hey, if you are one of those people that listens to all the episodes, or even a majority of the episodes, tell us, DM us, comment on the YouTube, something about something you've learned or some way that this has changed things for you. We'd love to hear it. Stuff like that when people send us is the best thing ever. It's what keeps us wanting to do more of these.
Yeah. What he said. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And also, I see a bunch of likes, a bunch of thumbs up on the last episode on YouTube. So thank you for that. Thanks for all those people who.
It takes 2 seconds, not even 2 seconds. It takes 1 second.
Yeah. Here we go. Now we're getting serious.
It's like olden days now. Backwards hat, Andy.
Do you ever get like a pain in your chest, in your lungs, like when you breathe? Well, this one is not on my heart side, so I'm not too worried. But like here, it's like, dude, every time you know how when you breathe in extra, like there's so normally you just breathe and it's just the normal breathing. And then every once in a while you take a deep breath, just, I don't know why, but you just, just take one of those deep ones. Well, whenever I do that right now, it's like, oh, hurts. So why is that? What's happening? I don't know.
If you dropped out during this episode, it will be really good for like ratings.
That's true.
So if you could just do a lot of deep breaths.
Okay, Joanne, if I happen to die during this episode, I love you. Okay. And it's been great. It's been a good run.
Cool. So what's going on with you this week? How's the shop?
Shop is good. It's
what'd you do for Memorial Day?
You really want to know what I did? Real talk. We drove to, I don't know how many different Targets because Joanne needs a certain matted poster frame, and Target has the perfect one. However, each Target only has about 3 or 2 or 4. You know how you go online, order it for pickup?
Yeah.
Well, she needs like 40-ish at least. And so each Target, some of them have like 1. And we bought up every single black matted poster frame in the entire metropolitan area. Like we drove to we actually didn't even have enough time on Memorial Day to do all that. And so she went yesterday and did some more. So
can you not order online and have it delivered to the store? And then you just pick up 40 frames from the store?
No, I wish that they would do that, but there's no option. In fact, we even asked when we were at a Target picking up, if the manager, hey, can you make this happen for us so that we don't have to go to all these Targets? And
they told you to kick rocks.
They told me they can't do that. But, you do what you got to do. And so we took our, we had this opportunity because we had the day off and we just ran around doing that. And it was fine. Like we just, got to visit a bunch of different Targets.
Cool. You didn't bust out that grill?
Did we? Can't remember. Did you?
Now that I got it all seasoned for you, I thought
you did help with that.
I thought maybe you would have cranked it open and made some dogs on Memorial Day.
We may have. I just can't remember. It's been already 2 days. I don't know.
Yeah, too many days.
But yeah, and it's a short week, and everything's crammed into 4 days, but we're making it happen.
Nice.
Things are good. Kyle, he had to run to like a dentist or something like that in the afternoon, and he was coming back here, got rear-ended.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he has a pretty solid bumper on his truck. He's fine. But and so that happened, in which of course, Kyle's the man, and so we got stressed out a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's here, he's fine. We're making shit happen.
Good man.
Yeah. I have it seems like all morning I've been on phone calls though. And the last phone call I had, I was like, dude, I gotta actually hang up because I've said too many words and I don't have a whole lot left, and I got to go talk to.
Talk to me for 2 hours.
Yeah. So yeah. How about you? What's going on up there?
Things are good. It's been 80 and sunny for like a week straight. So pretty much we're going to have a drought pretty soon if it doesn't rain. I went for a 10-mile hike on Memorial Day. So that was pretty cool.
That's incredibly far.
Yeah, it was far. The funny thing is like the lake that I walk every day, most people know that I do that at this point. The right side of it, they somewhat groomed a new trail because the trail never existed through the woods there. And they did. I mean, technically they kind of cleared it, but there's been so much like spring growth in like the sunny weeded areas that like not enough people hike this trail. So I was just like wading through swampy, wet marsh areas with weeds up to my belly button for a while. And I lost my shoe twice, like sunk down in the mud.
Oh, shit.
And that was just like the first quarter of my 10 miles. So like I had like wet soaking shoes and like scratched and battered legs by the time I got to like the real trail. But it was fun. It was good. It was like I did the whole thing. I did it by myself. I didn't listen to music or anything. I just like was in my own thoughts. It took me like 4 hours. It was a good time. I'm glad I did it. It was nice.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I saw some of your story.
Yeah.
And wish I was there. I did the same sort of thing. Not a hike, but I drove home. I don't know if it was yesterday. It was recent though, in silence, just nothing on the radio, just in my own thoughts.
Yeah.
And it went by so fast. Like all of a sudden I was at home. It was weird. But
one of those
good.
where you just stare off into nothing and then you realize you're home and you're like, how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah. A lot of times I'm trying to get home in a timely manner. And so maybe I'm, getting around
really
like
fast.
if not really fast, but if you're driving and there's a slow ass in front of you and you're like, oh, I'm going to pass them. Well, like that time whatever happened. I stayed in that lane. If somebody was slow in front of me, I just went slow. So it was less stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to remind everybody that we have that shirt, the Nadude shirt, and My Mom Does Your Digitizing shirt. We have 2 shirts. They are now in a store. They are in under merch. So you go to our website, churchofficial.com, click the merch tab, and there's stuff there.
Yeah. We have stuff that we've had for a while. We're not the kind of guys that are peddling merch constantly, but if you want to go buy something, you can. It'll touch my hands, which might be good or bad. I will personally fulfill it and rub my hands and other body parts all over these goods. So,
like whatever you want. You just, so in the message, say what you want.
Right.
Like,
and I'll do it. I have no shame. So you tell me.
I appreciate you. Yeah. So I think, there's stickers there too and stuff, right?
Yeah. There's stickers, enamel pins, shirts. Yeah, there's some stuff. Go get it. We appreciate you all. Thanks for listening to us for 3 years. And you ready to talk about our buddies? Old Frank the Tank.
You know what? I was just talking to somebody about Frank. I used him as an example, and I was like we converted our whole shop to Frank's screens way before we even started this show. And he was so incredibly helpful in that. And he has patience. Like, I don't know how that guy has patience, the kind of patience he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there's
for real though,
and so he changed our shop, like, because it's no joke when I say it all starts with a screen, because it really does. Like, he changed the entire way our shop functions when I started stretching with Frank. That sounds fun. That sounds interesting.
I love stretching with Frank. Yeah, like no joke, like 2 different people this week have asked me specifically about Frank and Frank's screens. And they're like, just tell me like why is Frank's, they hear like the hype and whatever. And they're like, tell me, like, what is it that's good about Frank from somebody else? Like, because I've been buying X blah, blah, blah screens from my distributor, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, he fucking makes the frames there. They're like the best aluminum. They're solid as fuck. And they hold the best tension. And he has all the good mesh. And you're dealing with Frank and his team that do it the best. And there's a million reasons. Like, quit fucking around. Like, we're screen printers. Buy the screens that matter.
Yesterday, this dude it was passing through St. Louis, fan of the show. He was originally from Russia. His parents immigrated from Russia. He was 7 when they did. And he is like an incredible graffiti artist, but he also has his own brand, and he's kind of transitioning over to become a custom screen printer. And we're on the tour and we get to reclaim, and a bunch of Frank screens are there in our racks, that have been reclaimed. And he starts talking about how he's double stroking his underbase on press and things like this, and it's causing issues. And I'm like, dude, stop, pump the brakes. Grabbed him a 158 thin thread, said, here, take this back to your shop, coat it, expose it as an underbase, and it'll change your life. Yeah. And when it was in his hands,
he punched it. And
when Frank was in his hands, he was like, why is this so tight? It's
right.
And I said, enough.
You said that's just Frank, baby. And then turn around.
Yeah. He's like, I don't get it. This is tight.
Right. So girthy.
I'm like, it's fucking right. And so in fact, I put a tension meter on it, and that number was high. It was like
85 newtons.
Yeah, it was like 85,000 newtons.
Right.
Look, it all starts with the screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF.
Rank.com.
Or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
That's right.
You know what else fucking rules? Alex.
Dude.
The best, one of the best dudes I've ever met.
Yeah. Alex also changed my life, you know?
Yeah. Me too.
I
Things
think
I
he's
can't share on the show, but
I think he's changing Chris over at Denial's life this week because he's running that blue water. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, the day you go from reclaiming manually 100 screens to running 100 screens through an auto reclaim, it's like the best day ever. It's almost like, you know, you just discovered a whole new world.
A whole new world.
But yeah, look, cleaning screens is no fun, but Easyway makes it funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. Easyway.
It's the easiest way.
Mm-hmm.
Truly is.
Yeah. If you ever have, that's the thing about Easyway too. If you're ever having an issue, which happens, even though you've been doing this for 100 years, things change and the pH this and the whatever that, call Alex. He'll figure it out. Guy's smart.
Such a straight.
Like, I think he paid attention in school or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's one of those guys that knows everything about everything.
Yeah. I bet she texts me later and says he's like barely passed.
Yeah. Dropped out at 16.
I know.
Didn't even get a GED.
It's just street smarts then. Whatever it is, dude's smart.
Mm-hmm. Another
smart company is if you or your art department could use, that was a terrible segue.
Speaking of smarts.
It's better. There you go. If you or your art department could use some love, then you need to go to 1-900-OutStuff.com and get in touch with Nick or Lucas.
Or Nick or Lucas.
At Graphics Source and let them run your art department so you can focus on running your business.
Yeah. Speaking of smarts, this is what we should have said. It's a smart decision. Like it's a bottleneck in most shops is art and SEPs and everything, digitizing, all those things. And Graphic Source is a whole team of people that can help you through that problem. And it's cheaper than an employee. And an employee that doesn't talk back or give you fucking HR issues. So invest in the best with Graphic Source. And
like us, we still have designers here. However, they are freed up to do other things. You know, they still do creative things here, but maybe they send tedious stuff to Graphic Source, or maybe they send high-end SEPs, you know, because those guys have got it down.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess what I'm saying is just give them a shot. Try them out. Mm-hmm. It'll also change your life. Chromaline is another sponsor, and there's a guy named Kev.
Great man.
And he has like a bunch of videos on Instagram. He has a bunch of videos on YouTube. If you're stuck and you're trying to figure out your screen room, well, then you want to talk to him or watch some of those videos. So check them out at Emulsion Guru on Instagram, and you can get the answers you need. That was like a hodgepodge of stuff, but I think you get the point.
Yeah. I just want to say personally, thank you to Kevin for sticking up for me and always helping me with things. He's just a good dude. He's not my rep. He's not even my fucking territory, but he's always there for me when I need it. And that's,
so you were getting picked on or something, bullied, and he stuck up for you?
Yeah, I was getting bullied and he came in and just fucking throat chopped everybody. And
he's got your back. He's the kind of guy.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Yep.
If your shop is like ours and you are running more and more DTF and screen print transfers, then you need a partner that can get you quality transfers fast. Check out Howard Custom Transfers at howardct.com. And while you are there, order yourself a sample pack. Did you see that sample pack that somebody got recently?
I didn't.
And it's on our story. You put it there, I think. And they had a shirt show sticker there too, like with it included.
I didn't see it. Can't help you out with that one. But
it happened. It happened.
Yeah. Howard is amazing though. For real though. Like we've been doing a lot of transfers and my rep to go to is Candy, and she has been fucking amazing with like walking me through things, helping me choose like what the best transfer for the best product is, cutting things. Like I get transfers in that are pre-cut. It's just like they've been amazing. So I think if all else, get a fucking sample pack and see for yourself.
Yeah, and they have a really neat dashboard because we have multiple orders in with them at any given time. And you just log in to your account and then you can see, oh, here's this order and it's processing, or this order has shipped and then there's tracking, you know what I mean? And so you get to their dashboards. It's like helpful. It works. It's helpful. Yeah. There you go. Cool.
Good people. Yeah.
Good people.
Hey, what do we got on today, bud? Because it's a pretty ridiculous one.
It is pretty ridiculous. And also, I think quite fitting for an anniversary special. Is that what we'll call it? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
He's an industry legend that basically invented screen printing.
Cool screen printing anyway.
What's that?
Cool screen printing anyway. The good stuff.
That's right. He is now the director of creative embellishment at Gildan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Dave Gardner.
What's up, Dave? How are you?
I'm peachy.
That's the spirit.
You sound good. Yeah. You look better.
Well, it's a bonus of blowing money over the years on all this guitars and amps and audio equipment. And so I had a Rode K2 laying around. So
you just want to sound magical.
Yes.
I heard that you were a Replacements fan. And so this morning I went down to my basement and I'm digging through my bins to find a CD that I had them sign when I was in Kansas City at Penny Lane Records to see a show, probably late 80s, maybe 1990 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was going to show you so that you would be impressed and think, wow, Andy's cool. But I couldn't find it.
That's even cooler. I have some signed Johnny Thunder's picture discs. There's this Atomic Records in Milwaukee when I was working with Harley. I lived out in Waukesha for a couple of years, and I'd go on, and they had the coolest stuff. They had a Sid Vicious poster. It was like life size from like the last night he played with the Heartbreakers, Johnny Thunders, and I took it to Hollebeck and I put it in my office, and it was like it was like 4 foot above the dividers, and everybody went, "Why?" Was by. I was like, "Why is that hanging there?" And I go, "It's a reminder how not to burn out."
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to show you what I did find though, and I brought it here to work, and I took it to the design room to so their minds could be blown. But are you ready? Here we go.
Oh,
so this thing, I haven't touched one of these in so long. That's what she said. But this right here, can you see there? It says 100 megabyte, which this was in its day like the shit. So like you used to have floppy disks, then you got the double-sided, right?
Yeah.
This can hold like 70 times. 100 meg is like 70 times or something crazy of a floppy disk. And I have no idea what's on this, and I don't have a reader anymore. So who knows? But anyway, isn't that cool?
Has it? Yeah.
So I had these like some of the early stuff when I actually like started archiving, being able to archive digitally, had the same problem. We bought a Max Optics optical drive, and those discs were like a couple $100 a piece and probably hold like 20 megabytes on them or whatever. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. That's wild, isn't it? So now you can have like this USB jump drive or whatever with a terabyte or something,
It's like $6 in the Walmart bin.
I know.
So is this what this is going to be? We're going to sit around and talk about how old we were?
Yeah, we're just going to talk shit the whole time. That's all this is. There's no stress. Let's just do it. So recently, you guys both got to hang out at the M&R event.
Yeah, and that's where I met Andy. It is Andy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And because Nick had suggested I would be on the show, and I was like, I met him at the. I go like, I don't think he knows who I am. So
us print nerds know who you are, Dave.
Well, I got to make there's a very like distinct line. They're like people who were around, and I like when I look at somebody and I kind of guess their age. I'm like, if they were around in the 90s, they knew my name. They probably never met me because I never left the studio. And then younger than that, I get the kind of who are you again? Chuck Berry. I invented rock and roll. No, didn't.
Right.
I think really it's if you care about the industry you're in and you want to be the best or you want to be really, really good, isn't it important to learn about who those people are when you're coming up? Like who's doing really good work and how can I be like them? Like if you're a chef, don't you want to go into the kitchen of other chefs or don't you want to learn from like the best? I would say that's true.
Yeah. So, well, it is and it isn't because I there's two sides to that argument, and I'll give you my side. So, I purposely didn't pay attention. Well, first of all, there was no place to go, and I mean, we're talking 1980, end of 82, 83 when I started screen printing. Nobody was doing anything like it. There weren't pre-printed shirts at retail. Like OP maybe was the only one that I would think around that time. And then if there were, it was like just logos, and like the NFL stuff was like trench manufacturing and all that. So there wasn't a lot to learn. And I guess that was a blessing to me because like a paradigm shift can only come from somebody outside a given profession. Right.
Right.
Because we learn from everybody that came in front of you, your tendency will to repeat everything that you were taught, right? Yeah. And so I was kind of to have a blessing of like having no knowledge of screen print other than what I had learned on my own, as a hobby. So
I think some of that though is that like you said that, and I had watched your Ink Kitchen interview where you kind of talked about your past a little bit, and I was hoping maybe we could do a little bit of that here because a lot of listeners, for us might not have heard that, but I think the big thing for you was that you just wanted to make really good art and you wanted to translate that to a t-shirt and you had to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I was fortunate, as I mentioned in the Ink Kitchen show, was that, I kind of have an equal left brain, right brain, engineering. I love the mechanical part of how to take a piece of art and break it down and then rebuild it again through separation. And so the challenge of that, but you also, it takes a kind of a special balance of like creativity and like technical ability.
Yeah. I guess before we get into too much of that, do you want to give some background on how you got into screen printing?
Yeah, I'll give a little bit, and I've got some slides queued again. People might not know the work, so quickly. It started at 3D Emblem in Fort Worth, Texas, 1982. Like a week or two after I started there, and it was odd because I just went down there like on a whim with my cousin to see if we could find work because I'm from the Rust Belt. I'm still in the Rust Belt. Shout out to Buffalo.
Yeah, not far from me.
And it just was, just everything. All the people were leaving, jobs were leaving, and I was there maybe 3 or 4 months. I was just about to go home, and it was like an ad in a paper. Harley Davidson t-shirt artist wanted. So I had some background in pinstriping and airbrushing. I'd worked at sign shop there locally, and my background in college was oil painting. So started there, and like 2 weeks after that, we get a letter from Harley saying cease and desist, because they were printing Harley shirts like ass, gas, or grass. Nobody rides for free, you know. Mm-hmm. Bloody skulls and I think Von Beals and Willie G and a couple other people from the old management would be bought it back from AMF, and so some firm in New York told them, hey, you know, I know you guys think it's free advertising to put, like, you're wondering why you're not paying people to put your logo on their shirt, but you can charge people to do that. So we got the letter from them, and I think there were 5 others. RK is the only one I really remember. And the owner, Jim Wan, at the time, was like, I ain't paying it. They want $10,000. I'm like, dude, it's an advance against royalties. Because it's a license to print money. So, you know, we did, and it took off. You know, I had, I kind of had to reinvent kind of what Harley was in order to make it fit the licensing, because it had been such a free fall for all forever, but it was all aimed at the 1%ers, right? And the reason they call them 1% is because they're only 1% of the bikers who that like that image, really, that outlaw image applies to, right? Mm-hmm. So I started playing up like the American angle and the blue collar and the freedom and the brotherhood and like the lifestyle stuff, and it was really successful with the consumer, and on one hand, and then on the other hand, the things, the way I was executing the separations, nobody had seen before. So it was, you know, kind of everything came together at that one point.
So the one thing I was curious about, though, was like, you said you were into like the painting and all that. Were you like painting designs and then took them to Harley, or were you like, how were you making these designs for them?
So people nowadays won't believe the good old days of licensing. Yes, I am going to talk like the old guy. Get off my porch. It was the Wild West. I mean, there was a license. As long as we didn't put a nude lady or a bloody skull in it, they would approve it. And I even, in fact, you'll see the early stuff. Steve McDonald and I were the only 2 there when it started. So like you go on eBay and see some of that stuff goes in the $300-$500 range. And
yeah, vintage Harley stuff's expensive.
So if it's got the 3D emblem label in it, or my signature or Steve's signature, obviously that adds value to it. So I'm literally signing this stuff, Dave Gardner, copyright 1983, on a Harley Davidson t-shirt. Like,
so were you doing this though, because it was pre-computer, like you weren't designing this in Photoshop, Illustrator type of thing. You know, you were drawing this and then how are you getting it from the drawing to separations?
Well, okay, the art was the separations, if that makes any sense, and it does to people who had to do it that way. You'd start out with basically a line drawing on acetate, and then maybe transfer it to PMT paper, and then like one color at a time, you would do your plates all in Zipatone or stipple. You know, you'd sit there and stipple, and
so the stippling was your halftone.
Yeah, or the Zipatone,
right?
You know, and then you'd be blown through so much Ziptone that, like, then you'd start duplicating it, making PMTs of it, and cutting it out with X-Actos and pasting it in place. I mean, it was tedious. It was like a 60-hour long process, you know, of sitting there and going in the dark room and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you came up with a concept, you did your line drawing. I never thumbnailed anything. I had an idea and just kind of worked it out as it went. And, you know, I think that's the cool part of like when that
let's say that got to press and you were unhappy with one of the colors or something, you know what I mean? Did you go, you couldn't go back to your computer and say, oh, 10% less,
No.
or I'm going to, whatever, you
No,
had to start over, or?
No, there was no such thing as being unhappy. There was a complete and utter failure, right? Because so this thing only exists in my head, right? The only analogy I can make is, imagine if you were to do a painting and you had your color palette laid out, and then suddenly you lost your ability to sense color and you could only see black and white, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to put it on the canvas, but like one color at a time. And so you wouldn't know what it looked like till you gained your sense of color back. And that's what it was. Nobody knew what it looked like. I had an idea in my head. And it was like, I mean, it was literally the day it would go up on press. It was like its birthday. Like, this thing's born. It's now alive. And sometimes I would be amazed. More than not, it was like, I wish I would have done something else. But because no art existed, and that's the huge difference, where there's not a piece of art, the customer sends it in and says, match it, right? We're creating, it's an original.
You're creating
work.
It from nothing.
Yeah, it's a work of art. I mean, it's totally, the shirt is the canvas.
Yeah.
So
you were doing art, and then Harley saw that art, and then that's what made them want to bring you on?
No. The 3D, I had started at 3D Emblem. They were doing Harley art. They were selling Harley shirts without a license.
Right.
So once 3D got the license, then we could do Harley shirts.
Okay.
So, but my stuff just took off more than anybody else's.
Yeah. So what was the experience there? Like, what led you to the next thing?
Well, what led me to the next thing was, when I started out, I still remember, it was like $6 an hour, and I was so happy. I think that was like minimum wage, right? To be doing art and getting paid for it. And I would take the work home, and Steve McDonald, it wasn't for him. I mean, the guy gave me he hired me. He was the art director. He gave me all kinds of latitude. We kind of learned off each other, in terms of like experimenting and like the day would end and I'd take work home, and I did that in college too. Like, I wanted my stuff to be the best in class. Right. So I'd see kids starting a week, the day the projects and illustration projects due, they're sitting in the cafeteria starting it like 2 hours before. I ran home the night of the assignment and worked, because it had to go up on a board and we would all do a critique, and like, mine's got to be the best.
Right.
And that's really what it is. I mean, in the real world of commerce, right? The consumer at the end of the day makes that choice. But so what made me move on from that was Hollebeck had been Vern Hollebeck would call me every now and then, because they had a license also, and my stuff was selling better, right? So Vern kept trying to get me to come to work with him in Milwaukee, and I wasn't interested. And I'd see the and I knew I know like $500,000 of pieces of one design was not out of the question, if you hit on a good piece. And I'm sitting there thinking, geez, if I had just a nickel for every shirt that went out,
Mm-hmm.
and and then seeing the owner's daughter roll up in a brand new Mercedes for her 16th birthday, and me having a tote the note. Anybody from the South knows what the tote the note was, right? If you didn't pay your note at every Friday, they'd come and just take the car, and everything you paid on it was gone, right?
Gone, yeah.
And my wife was working at. It's funny you brought up that floppy or the disc, place called Verbatim, and that's all they did was sell floppy disks to companies. And I mean, it was just outrageously expensive, 3.5-inch floppy disks or whatever. And they had a company bowling team, and they conned me into to get on it. It was actually a drinking team, not a bowling team.
Drinking with some bowling in the background.
Yeah, you get there and get the specials. And Tom Jones, no, not the Tom Jones, who was the VP. I'd bring him shirts, and he started asking me about. He's like, "This is cool. How much do you sell?" and all this. And he said, "Well, do you ever think of doing it yourself?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not a businessman, and I wouldn't know how to start a business." And he says, "Well, you know what? I'm going to get some beer and pizza. Come over to my house Thursday." Okay. So he'd sit down, and he goes, "Well, what would you, if you were start a business, what would you need?" So writes down all the list of equipment. Okay. What kind of building would you need? Oh, okay. And then he says, "What do you think you can sell?" And I was like, "Well, based on what we're doing." He goes, "We just made a business plan." It's like, "Oh, cool." So he went out and found somebody to finance it, and relocated to Houston, bought a new building, bought a press from Advance, and we did all this with a handshake deal from the licensing director at Harley. Problem was, once people who had a license found out, especially the place that I formerly worked at,
right,
it raised a bunch of noise, and that didn't go through. So we ended up like, what are we going to do now? And we went after Boris. We ended up getting a license to do Boris Vallejo's art. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Like Frank Frazetta, the open, like Molly Hatchet album covers.
Mm-hmm.
Boris was a student of his. So that was like really cool art and challenging to do. But like, we didn't have anybody burn screens or print. So, I mean, I would do the art, I'd do the separations, I'd burn the screens, I'd print it. And, that just like raised my whole game to another level, being like hands-on and understanding everything about that. So
how did you feel about that before that? Like, were you doing the printing before, or just the art? Like just the
I do the screens. Yeah, I do the art, and then somebody else with Chuck Mulsby. I think that he's the I don't know. I told the story before, but me and Steve would just do stuff to irritate Chuck, because he was so irritable, and we found it amusing. But so the whole idea of printing on a flash surface, I wasn't. If anybody else was doing it, I wasn't aware. I was making transfers. It's a whole another story. I don't want to go backwards to that. But I had a job before that just printing transfers at some place. And so I thought, well, what if you just did a reverse of a transfer? You put because you would put colors down and then back it with a white ink.
Right.
But I used a brown because all I was trying to do was seal the shirt, so that when like a red printed on top, it'd be red. If it went onto the shirt, it'd be a dark red. So now like I got double color palette. So, I just would write down like base plate on it. Well, Steve, who's a native Texan, and says stuff like, used to could, grandbaby, fixing to. He go, "Are you done with that underbase?" I go, "Steve, it's not. It's just base. It's not an underbase. It's redundant. It's like sub basement.
I've never thought of that ever. I've never thought of it being two of the same.
So the deal was, Chuck chimes in. He's like, "Yeah, that's stupid." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." This is how we irritate Chuck. So on every film, we'd start writing underbase, right, on the first screen. And then people who came through 3D Emblem later were emulating that. And by like 1990, I'd see it in prints all over the place. And I'm just like laughing. And to this day, it's like most hilarious.
Joke to you.
It is a joke. It was a joke. It's still a joke. And I still laugh. So
another one is like I hear all the time is hot water heater. because, it's a water
Right.
heater. But so there's a lot of those out there. And I even say it sometimes myself. But back to earlier, you said that like in school or in class, you wanted to be the best. So you wanted your art to be the best. What do you think it is that like makes us want to be the best at something? Is it that we're looking for approval from our parents, maybe our mom or our dad? No, I'm serious. Because
I have an easy answer, but I want them to go through his question because I think he's, probably saying something about himself in this. So I want to hear it.
I just want to what is it? Are you in competition with your, do you come from a competitive family? You had a lot of brothers and sisters.
Yeah. I mean,
is it your parents that instill hey, you need to work hard? So when my first job, I worked at a grocery store. I knew shit about shit. I kept it clean there. The saying actually is worse, but I got in there and they're like, well, here's how you mop. I didn't know how to mop, and so they showed me how to mop the floor. And I guess I wanted to be the best mopper there. I wanted them to say for years, man, Andy Redmond, when he was here, that fucking floor was clean. But why did I want to be the best? Who was it that I was trying to impress? Why, what is it about a person?
It's yourself. I mean, any of the glam professions, and people will come to me, when they hear that I make a living as an artist. My daughter's thinking about going to school to art. Can you talk to her? And I'm like, yeah, if you don't mind me telling her the unvarnished truth. And that's 5%, maybe 10 if you're lucky, are actually going to, if you want to be a singer, a dancer, a writer, an artist, 5 to 10% are going to make a living at it. You can dabble in it in some ways, and maybe it's a part, but there's very few jobs. And then inside that, to be successful at it, you got to be in the top 1%. And what has to happen first there is you have to be willing to outwork, because all the talent in the world, right? It happens with professional athletes. You'll see kids coming out of high school as a national number one recruit, and there's the "Where Is He Now" segment on YouTube, right? So I think if you're doing it for adoration or applause or acceptance or all the things that you feel,
or money,
thank you. Well, money is just a symbol of that thing, right? Of that adoration. If you're doing it for that, you won't be successful. You may be for a small period of time, but the thing that's driving you, once you get that, it's gone, right? So for me, it was always about myself, proving that I can be better than myself. It's the reason I picked up golf over the last 10 years or so, getting more intense into it. Because when I go out there, I want to be better than myself than I was last time, right? So I think that's what drives people is, probably this a sense of inadequacy, and maybe that comes from growing up, and maybe it comes from somebody not instilling enough self-esteem. I think we've done pretty good though as a society with these generations on the self-esteem part. So that's what drives me. And it's one of the reasons, this is the second, the shop talk was the first one I did. And that's because Rick sat down with me, honestly, and was just interested in talking with me and asked me to do the show. And I thought it was genuine. I haven't looked back on anything I did over the past almost now 40 years, because I think the minute that you start doing that, then you're done, And I always want to think, if somebody asks me what's your favorite job or the thing you're most proud of, my answer has to be the one I'm going to do next, right? Yeah. Because if it's not, then I need to stop and I need to do something else.
Well, that's what I was most curious about with you is I know you have these things that you did and kind of, help change the industry and everything else, but when Andy said that he had met and talked to you at the M&R thing, we had an episode that came out last with Charlie he was all for the Polaris and how the Polaris is going to change screen printing and the fact of like you can, at scale and speed print just about anything. Now, from a guy like you that went through the motions and kind of helped change the industry with the sim process stuff and the Underbase and all this other stuff, like how do you feel about that current change? Like I want to talk about the future and like what it used to be into what it is now and how you feel that it's going to play and what you think is going to happen.
Well, I said this to Danny Sweem when it came up, and like you'll never recreate a Tiffany lamp, right? I mean, look back at the history of industrialization and the art and the craft. Then it went into like the Art Deco architecture, the time and the money people put into making something beautiful and functional. Like none of that matters now. Yeah. It's all function. In fact, it's even like faux function.
Yeah.
Most of it's not even functional.
It's funny that you say that because I think about that too. Like you go into an old city and you walk into a building and you're like, holy shit, like the amount of like intricate work and just the outside and everything that goes into it. And then you see like a new building being made now, like say like a hotel or whatever. And it's like foam panels that they spray.
How quick and cheap can you get it up? Right. Yeah. And it's like, so yeah, what I think is it's that part of the craft is just going to disappear with all the other, great crafts. There's going to be a handful of artisans. Maybe in 5 years, I'll be in a little village somewhere where people are blowing glass and stuff, and they come by, and here I am with Ruby Lith and PMT and
bringing it back.
Rapidograph, right? And Exactos and all those, and go, this is how we used to do it. We're making a piece of art on shirts.
Yeah. But do you feel like it has a place though? Like the debate that we keep running into is not necessarily that it's going to take over and it's going to, it's the definite new way of doing things. But how do you feel about that shift in technology going from having to intricately figure out each separation and each screen to, well, we can do just about anything and everything now?
Well, I think I can answer that even like on a broader scale, because for every step forward we make in technology, and I think this applies to everything, we lose. We're it's not a zero-sum game, right? We're giving up something,
right?
And so with digital, you're getting the ability to run one-offs, but so what? Yeah, so you got a shirt that, like, for me, the challenge was, like, I consider myself a commercial artist, right? Emphasis on commerce, because the other part, you could just be. I could be an artist anytime I want. I just go out and paint something and not worry about selling it.
Right.
So the idea that you can, and I think it's the same for like filmmakers or authors, whatever. You can write a book that's like cool to you or cool to a bunch of other people, or one of. Hey, I can make, one-off books. Okay. The point of making it is trying to connect to as many people as possible. Right. And so, like, for me, that was like, if I knew, everybody that's hey, I got $1 million idea. For me, it was like, I got $1 million shirt idea, and I knew it when I had it. It's like, this is just going to connect with people. And part of that is keeping it like on a primal level. Like the more you can reduce things, and kind of my art style has always been kind of reductionist, right? And I don't know where I learned it, but like if I look at a painting or something I'm working on, can this exist without? If I can take that out, does it still have impact? If I can take that out, does it still have impact? And the closer you can get to that, you're actually quintessence, right? You're something that, like, you can't make a number 2 pencil more beautiful, more functional, it's got to, people have tried and it's been around forever. So, yeah, I get going on some.
I did
very
something very similar to that. I had a teacher in college, a writing class, and it was just that, like, reduce this to as few words or sentences as possible. So you would write this thought and you would turn it in, and they would red line through like, hey, you don't need this, this, this. And so you were trying to reduce it down to the smallest, I guess, way to convey your message as possible. And so, and there's an art to that, it's hard. And I think that especially now in this modern time of like people that don't want to read much, you don't even use punctuation anymore.
Right.
Like it's probably pretty helpful because we communicate in just 3 or 4 words, right. It seems like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It worked.
Yeah. But then in that kind of reductionist state, things have to be less complicated too, right? You can't pull off complex thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. in shorthand. The beauty of for me of a t-shirt, or the challenge of it, was because people always come, hey, I got an idea for a shirt. There's this guy outside and his daughter's doing this and he's whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's a 30-second commercial. I got one frame. And for me, it's like a 6-foot rule. I design, when I'm working on a design now, like on a computer, I'll put it down to thumbnail size, right? If it makes impact at a thumbnail size,
right?
So too many people take the ability that they can zoom up on something and they focus on the details and they miss, the forest through the trees. So, yeah,
makes a lot of sense. So we kind of came off quick off of the Underbase thing. How did that change what you guys were doing? Like, was that like a big deal? I mean, obviously it's a big deal, but
it was a huge deal because when I got, I'm going to speak of my experience at 3D Emblem and like whatever other people do in the industry, it's, I'm not aware or make any claim to it, but I know, what what I was doing was unique to me because I had nothing to emulate. Right. So what it did was because it was Harley, we were printing on black. And when I got there, everything was like 76 mesh. And then the rule was you drew like an 1/8 line between colors because you didn't want them to butt because they would just blur. And then you would print the lightest colors last because the other colors would darken when you went through. Right. And by putting like a base screen down, like on a 76 mesh, I could run like 230s, well, it was at the time was like 230s, and use the fact that the ink is picking up on the back of the screen, as in my head, it was doing the job of a painter or a palette knife, right? I'm laying ink down, but the screens, each preceding screen is mixing the color that went before. So I'm thinking like you put a color under another color, then come down on top of it. When the screen hits it, it's going to pull the color up through it. Now, a lot of people think that's a bad thing. So you get buildup. Well, I want buildup to a certain degree. Like when you first start the press, if you're printing wet on wet and you're printing on a flash surface, maybe the first 10 shirts aren't even going to look good at all. But I'm going to get a little geeky here, right? There's adhesion and cohesion, and this is like the science behind like printing wet on wet successfully. So in a plastisol, and water base is a lot. You can't really do this with water base, but I'll do this demonstration at times. Just take a bit of plastisol ink and put it between my fingers, and then slowly pull my fingers apart, and you'll see it string. It's stuck to one finger and it's stuck to the other, and but then I squeeze a little bit of pressure on it and then pull my fingers apart and it's not there anymore. So the property of adhesion means the ink wants to stick to something else. Cohesion means it wants to stick to itself. So if you get to a point where it's built up on the back of the screens enough, there's no more screen left. It's sticking to wet ink, right? And the shirt you put on every time is fresh. So like the biggest mistake people make is like try to put like a solid white or whatever under there. Like I need 2 or 3 to make this bright. What happens is the ink comes down and it hits that shiny surface. It doesn't want to stick to it. So I always made sure like I was like my base plate, I was using like 80% at the most so that the shirt surface was rougher than the back of the screen. And then the ink would just find its own shear point after like.
You're saying your base was a halftone? It wasn't a full solid?
No, he just means not like PFP. Like
he's flashing his base.
Flashing it, but not the solid. I need the t-shirt to be have more adhesive properties than the back of the screen, right?
So this is crazy. We print contract print for Harley, okay? Mm-hmm. And for let's just say anonymous company. And when we first started doing that, we would get art seps and the base had halftones in it. And we were like, well, we've done variegated halftones to create, different colors underneath, but we didn't understand why some areas were like that when we would engineer separations. We would never do that. And then also we would receive print orders that flashed it flashed the base. I'm calling it base.
Right, sure.
Base.
Yeah.
Flashed the base, but then
never going to be able to call it Underbase.
I know, but then wet on wet, everything else. And we're like scratching our heads and we're like, this can't be right. And so we ran jobs not according to their print order because we were like, it's going to build up. And on shirt number 1000 or 2, whatever, it's going to look like hell. Until we got a little further down the road and wait, why doesn't this look the same? And then we started tweaking our methods to match because we would receive an original. We had to match and we had to match their original. And you couldn't match their original unless you did wet on wet and also did the underbase like this. So it's crazy for you to be saying this because I'm like, it's making sense now.
Yeah.
Like it's
So that was like I've had some people other than New Buffalo print stuff for me, and they're like, "Well, wait till you see us print it." I'm like, "You're going to see every dot," and then they're throwing flashes, and then they're going, "Well, it's building up," and I'm like, "Well, yeah." Like I said, you're gonna go home, or next time you're at the shop, you're gonna do that. You're gonna take a bit of ink and put it between your fingers, and then just release it. So because what I found out early was, and here's another very important thing: you cannot separate for your best printer in the shop. You have to separate for your worst. It's that simple. Because I had no choice when it went to the floor who was going to set it up, what their skill level was. And I found that, first of all, with Plastisol, if it's slightly out of register, it's easier to just put a little more pressure and get the ink moving sideways, right? So with wet on wet, that was the secret, actually more pressure, because when you got a Plastisol sitting on the shirt and it's also on the back of the screen, the minute you put pressure on it, it moves sideways. And
it can't go into the shirt. It's got to go out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and so the ink will shear from itself. So, so it took me, I knew it was happening, but like you, I was like, I started thinking, well, now the inks back then were just so thick. You kind of almost had to have a halftone because the white was just, it'd feel like bulletproof if you put solid stuff down. So then when I started using solid, I'm like, it's just not working. So there you go. There's one thing.
When you talk about how you have to have that build up and it might take 10, 15 shirts before it gets to be the right print, do you account for that with every order? Are you like, let's just run 10 test shirts before we do the actual order, like shit shirts?
Yeah. And that's Plastisol. Like water-based is a whole different beast. With Plastisol, you'll get, 30-40% dot gain. With water-based, it's possible to get a negative dot gain. They're two different beasts. I'd separate totally different for water-based than plastisol.
Were you doing that? Were you doing both?
No, I'm just recently got into, water base.
But your preference was plastisol.
Well, yeah, because that's like, to me, like paint on it, on a shirt, right? It actually, some of this, if you look at some of the stuff from the 90s, people would, they'd hang it up. It'd be hanging up at shows, and although I never went to them, people would tell me, it's like people would come up with loops and looking through it to see what like halftone screen I'm using, and then I'd bump into one. He goes, "You got to be using 155 line because I can't even see it." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like 32 line," because the halftone disappears because the ink, it's wet on wet and it's mixing together.
Right,
So
right.
I mean, the shirt up close looks like a painting. I mean, it's a work of art. And if there's one thing in my lifetime that accomplished, and maybe me reaching out to and talking to other printers and building this network can help do that, is that I think t-shirt printing, t-shirt design is a uniquely American art form and should be celebrated and held in the esteem that it deserves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we at the end of the day, we do say, well, come on, it's just a t-shirt. Let's not lose our minds, right?
Right.
But it's, it can be more than that. And there was a time that it was more than that.
Yeah. We actually just talked about that recently, about how we would say that it's just a t-shirt, but really it's like, it means a lot more to the person who puts it on. You know what I mean? They picked it for a specific reason and because it had an emotional connection and all this other stuff. But it's interesting to hear your take on like the painting aspect with plastisol. And that's something that with this show too, like in our friends in the industry, there's always this debate over plastisol versus water base. And do you have an opinion on that other than that you like using plastisol because of that? Or do you have an opinion on like the superiority of one over the other?
No, I mean, look, you're going to get me in trouble here.
It's a personal opinion. I mean, it's
the reason people went like here. I'll use this as an example, and you can extrapolate from that what I think about water base. So the plastisol inks were just beautiful. They were creamy. They were opaque. They're beautiful to work with. And then California passed a law saying you can't have phthalates in children's clothing, right? So now ink manufacturers are going, well, do we have to make two sets of inks, one for California, one for the rest of the country? No, we'll just adopt the phthalate free, right? Overnight, my separation stopped working. It was a year of madness for me because everything I knew about the ink performance changed.
right.
So I had to go back and kind of re-engineer. I used to print light to dark. Now I print dark to light. And I think the same thing with water base. Water base came about not because people were clamoring for it, but because brands were saying, we don't want plastics, yet.
Right.
I still, PVC still runs through my house and I drink water out of it. So, yeah. And
so it's more of a, let's do this because this seems like,
it seems good for the planet.
Right. Okay.
And again, I'm not taking a position on this. You ask me as an artist.
Yeah.
That's my honest answer.
That's all I'm looking for.
So, had to go to the dentist yesterday. It's 45 minutes from where I live. So round trip, hour and a half. I put on a podcast, one of my favorite, How I Built This. And it has this episode with this guy. His name's Thomas Keller, I should say, Chef Thomas Keller. And he owns the French Laundry in Napa Valley, California, which has twice won best restaurant in the world. And it was fascinating. Like, this was a really cool podcast to listen to. And is so, and I don't know, maybe perfectionist is the right word, and wanted to be the best at something. And so, and what drove him, and I listened to, there's just one part where he says they go so far as to, when they purchase their fish for this restaurant, normally it comes in on ice flat. Well, that's not how a fish is natural. Naturally, fish are upright and they swim upright like this. So they ship it to him and he receives it and stores it and butchers it there upright. You know, because if it was flat, then the pressure, gravity changes the molecules of the meat. And like, this is how the nuances this guy, that this guy has, and the passion anyway to be this sort of place and this sort of restaurant is the reason why it is what is, like, it's, I guess, won awards as the best restaurant.
Yeah.
And so he says this thing, though. He had this thing the saying that I loved, and it goes like this. So having a dream is hard, living a dream is harder. And I thought that was really cool. And it applies to me and also definitely my wife right now, because her dream is to be an artist, like the way you put it earlier, I guess, commercial artist, because she has done art all along. But she's never been all in as an artist. Like, okay, I'm doing this only, and this is how I'm making my living. Instead, she's on the side, like, on the weekends and after work and stuff, done her art. I guess it was a side hustle. Well, now she's all in and she has this great opportunity. And having the dream of being this, self-sufficient commercial artist was one thing, and it was hard. But living it right now seems to be like it's even harder. And so she says, and I'm like, Joe, this is like, probably you'll look back on this as one of the best times in your life, because it's a struggle and she's trying to come up with all this art right now. But like you're doing it, like slow it down and love this. And it's really hard though.
Well, I know it's cliche, but I've experienced enough to know that it's a universal truth. It's not the destination, it's the journey, right? I mean, you don't climb a mountain to stand on top, because you would take a helicopter. It's much more practical, less deadly.
That's the Dave Gardner quote from the episode. Why would you climb the fucking mountain when you could take a helicopter to the top?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. All right. If that were the point. So yeah. And everybody, the challenge of, and I know a lot of guys, a lot of people who somebody will say, why is that guy still working? I know he's got more money than he can spend the rest of his life. Well, the reason he got more money than the rest of his life is there's something inside him that's driving him to do more every day. Right. Yeah. The money is just, it comes, it's just we don't have any other way of rewarding success, right? And make you keep going. So, and it kind of makes all the pain that you put into it a little, the food tastes a little better. The seats are a little softer, but you still have the same problems. Yeah. So with your wife, like, just like embrace the journey, because you'll never get that back. It's like, when my son, who I have a great relationship with, but I still remember 5 years old, and a friend of mine had a 5-year-old, and I saw how he's interacting with him. I said, he's going to disappear. I was like, I don't know. It's like, you'll never have that again. You need to, like, now have that relationship, because it goes away. They're just, and that's,
and happens
like
fast.
Yeah. And everything in life is that, right? You just, if you're so obsessed on the goal, then there's going to be nothing but disappointment when you get there. And I think that's what happened, with a lot of, where are they now? Rock stars, right? It was like, I got to get to the top, and then they get there, and it's like, I'm not as happy as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. Because the happiness comes in the achieving, right?
I've seen some of those things recently where it's like they put it into visuals of like your kids or your own life or whatever. I think it was a kid one where it was like like a shadow box and had beads in it or whatever. It was like, well, the amount of days you get to spend with your kid at this point in life, and then this point, and then this point, and it goes down to basically nothing. And then another one I heard was like, as an adult, and like how many times you actually see your parents, like, or you like go to their house or dinner or whatever. And it's like, okay, how many times do you see your mom? And they're like, oh, I don't know, like once a month. And they're like, all right, well, that's 12 times a year. And she's got 10 years left.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're only going to see your mom 112 more times. And you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I should see my mom more.
And yeah, that's if everything goes well.
Right.
It might be once. It may not be again. So I did queue up some slides.
Let's do it
to walk through. And I think maybe I'm going to try.
You're the first person to ever have slides.
Is there an award?
Yeah.
Is there some sort of
I don't know if we told you this beforehand, but this is our 3-year anniversary, so it's perfect time to have that.
Christina told me that yesterday.
Ooh, look at that.
So she asked me yesterday as an icebreaker was the first thing. It's like, well, so like I noticed a couple of guitars behind you. And this story goes back to I told you before I started doing Harley, I worked at a sign shop. I just stopped by, and this guy was a local legend. Like I grew up seeing his work all the time, and he happened to be renting a bay out of the sign shop. It was Frank Palmer, and so, you know, I'm paying to go to college to learn shit when I could just stop by here and hang out at no cost and watch this genius at work, you know?
Yeah.
And so at my 50th birthday, my son picked out this Gretsch Tim Armstrong edition. And my wife tracked down Frank Palmer, who's God, it might at the time it's probably 20 years, like in his 70s. I mean, still doesn't have a cell phone, you know, and she ships it to him, and he sent this back. So for my 50th birthday, that's why that hanging there.
That's super cool.
That's his signature. That's what, like, and if you watch his shop talk video, I tell my Frank story.
Yeah,
and he, you know, he's the guy when I saw him have that self-confidence, I knew it was attainable, right? Yeah. Like I said, just one day when you asked me earlier, like what drives you, I want to say to myself that I'm the best one day. Not I don't need to hear it from somebody else. I need to feel that for myself. What's it feel like? So the other guitar hanging there, this is Epiphone Dot that so Craig Howell, who was one of I call them my kids. I don't know that they like it, but like the first 5 artists that I hired there were the core of Gardner Graphics. All went on to have really successful careers, and I'm proud of them as I am my own kids, but more actually prouder than what they accomplished than what I did. So for my 60th, Craig took that and made that.
That's so cool.
So I have some details of it. Like there's Buffalo nickel on there. The headstock is just awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super intricate.
And this is cool because Chiba Productions, if you want to check out his website, Craig Chiba, like Cheeba. He was doing poster art, and he did this Van Halen poster, and they decided to make a t-shirt. And now he was living in California at the time. And this art comes in, and I'm like, it looks like Craig's work, you know? So I call him, and it's like, hey, did you do so I got to take his artwork and do separation of it. And of course it was like, you know, you better make it look good. It's like,
right. All that pressure.
The shirt's going to look better than the art. Just don't worry about it. Right. And that with the back, that was the band I was in with my son for a couple of years. So 9 Miles to Empty. which was I had quit playing music and let me jump back before I jump to the next story. Quit playing music, and my cousin was having a 50th birthday party and wanted to know if my old band would get back together. And I'd sold all my equipment and all guitars and all that. And I was like, because like, I think once you, like if I stopped, well, actually I did stop doing art a while ago. When you stop doing something, like you just don't want it in your periphery. Like you don't want to, it's out of my life. My wife used to be a professional dancer, and then she stopped dancing. I'm like, why don't you take dance classes or something, like stay involved in it? And it's like, it was so much a passion that you can't do it halfway. So, so I didn't know whether I wanted to do it or not. And I driving in my car and noticed it said 9 miles to empty. And I was like, so I'm turning 50 and I'm going like, there's something like you don't pay attention. You're at your gas gauge. Cause we, in a rural area, especially like it's double digits. You're not in trouble. The minute it drops below 10, and you're like, now you're calculating like, where's the nearest gas station? And then beyond that is who are the people that I'm going to call when I run out of gas? That's the real thing. And that's the measure of your life, right? When you run out of gas, who are the people that could, and how many is in that list, right? Yeah. So I said, yeah. So I found my motivation, and I said, I'll get the old band together if you let me put another band together, open for them, play with my son, and we ended up playing together for years. So this is the infamous first ever what later came to be called the simulated process, right? I took this photo. Harley had a limited edition beer that they were I think distributing at Daytona, and we got a hold of it. They weren't even sure whether they told us we couldn't put it, like you can't do the beer cans on a shirt. It's like, well, wait till they see it, right? Fortunately, we got it approved. So this was something where there was no art. It was just a photograph that I had to break down. And there is a brown printed first, and my signature is the giveaway on this stuff, right? And I don't know if I can zoom in. I'm sure I can. Well,
I want to go on eBay after this and see if I can find a Dave Gardner Harley shirt.
Yeah, do before the episode airs, because like it's like I said, I see some of it listed for $300, $500, but this, I mean, as I was saying earlier, this is like, what else from this time frame, the 80s and 90s, in terms of an American art form, had as much impact, right?
Yeah.
I remember like in art history class, right? And I wanted to be an illustrator, and somebody made a Norman Rockwell joke, right? So I lose my shit in the class. I'm like, yeah, well, like, what's so wrong with Norman Rockwell? And they all roll their eyes, like cheesy and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's like he's like the most popular artist to a whole generation of people, right?
Yeah.
And well, it was just, it was a magazine, it was hokey, it was whatever they wanted to say about it. Then in like 2008, I'm in Atlanta and walk by the art museum in Atlanta, and there's this 30-foot banner of Rockwell paintings, right? So like overnight, he became accepted, and I think because I mean, painting is just, it has such a rich history, but then the camera came about, right? And artists went, so I use that I think that's a good analogy for digital, right? When is well, what are we going to do now? Or AI just creating art, Well, why do I need to do artwork anymore. So people became less realist and became more abstract. Well, a camera can't do this, right?
Yeah. But it'll come back and be more valuable. It's like how the record is back better than ever.
Two things. If you're listening and not watching, two things about this shirt right here. One, it's sleeveless and it has these hems that are just like, I've never seen this before, but it looks badass. And I want to wear this.
So that was hilarious. I did not know I had this shirt. I thought I only had one copy of this shirt, which was mine, which would be like the artist proof. I got the first two shirts off the press, one for me and one for my wife. But I don't know, maybe it's a small, so it wasn't for me. I don't know. And it's brand new. So
but go back to that one more thing. The other thing is the cans have those pull off tabs, that's what, for me anyway, dates it. And I know that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing about some of those, especially with Harley, is just like the chrome look with things.
Yeah. Yeah, you had to. So this is like a really early, I started getting, pushing towards doing pictures on a shirt. This is my life when I was talking about pushing the lifestyle. Now, I did plenty of like Americana, rah-rah. It wasn't as passe back then. I mean, it was, I think, one of the first ones I did had it had an like eagle in the background, a flag in the background, the new Softail, and it said, "Okay, Japan, your next custom bike prototype is ready," right? And that sold like crazy because it was 83, Reagan and the whole kind of we're experiencing imports. It was Japan then, not China, but so. The fact that it's kind of, that whole look has jumped the shark, if I had any hand in that, I'm sorry. So this one, and it sold really well because it spoke to the lifestyle, right? And kind of every biker, it looks the same. Like you have to be very careful anytime you put a person in a shirt that the person wants to see that as themselves, right? So
you got to put a little bit of everybody in that guy.
Yeah. Well, so like this is silhouette, right? So the less detail you could be, a person can imagine themselves. And I'm not saying they do that consciously. I'm saying on an unconscious level.
The guy just looks like Travis Tritt.
Yeah. So this is like a year later. And because that's 84. And I don't know if anybody's ever picked up on this. I've never heard anybody tell me. So this is like the open road shot, the idea, but in the mirror is the same couple that's here.
Is it the same bike too?
No. Well, it might be.
No, that one's black.
No, it's not.
Looks like the fuel tank.
No, the other one's red, but I know it. I know this. I shot a photo reference of it, so I know that this bike, that's actually my hands, and whatever. I mean, so when I could, I'd try to do photo reference because again, you're doing stuff in your head, and you have to. So Tom Jones.
You had to throw Tom Jones in there.
Yeah. So I know I brought this up earlier, but so. Yeah, I told the story of how Tom got me to leave 3D Emblem and we started Body Graphics, and I did find one Boris Vallejo print that we did.
It looks like a heavy metal print.
Yeah, and I did this I think on a 6-color press.
That's so good.
And his artists, there's some amazing stuff from that, and I think this sold it's like Spencer's. So this is the famous. I did Harley for another 5 years, like between 85 and 90 for Hollaback under contract, and I got royalties on that. And thank you, Vern. It was the greatest deal for both of us, right? But the fact that as an artist you can earn royalties gives you so much more invested in the piece, right? Because then
that was something you talked about on the Ink Kitchen one that I was like, I wonder how much of that still happens.
it doesn't, because you put, unfortunately, financial people instead of entrepreneurs and get in the way of that, right? It's like, did you see how much we paid this guy this year? You know, we could get somebody else to do it for blah, blah, blah.
At a finite price of like.
Yeah. And that's how you end up with mediocrity everywhere. So, you know, good luck with that. You know, try to get a performer to so anyways, that was the John and I made a call to John Weiss at New Buffalo Shirt Factory. We were two separate companies during the 1990s. I sold Gardner Graphics to him in 2000. Functionally, things didn't change. It was just kind of two companies became one. But so I took kind of the look I was doing at Harley. And made this piece. We took it to the NFL, got shot down, came back, and we started doing colleges. And we went and like, what do you do for colleges that hasn't been done before? And we were like, well, everybody's got a mascot, so we came up with these intense mascots, right? And I've only got like a couple of like 3 examples of each.
So cool.
And this one. And by then I had Andy Wenner had started working with me, and he had worked at the summer when I was at Hollebeck. He was there, and he said, like, you know, if you ever need to hire somebody, let me know. I was like, would you move out to Buffalo? He's like, yeah, okay. So he was the first guy I hired. We're still in a band together after he's 30, almost 40 years now.
So this was kind of the secret sauce for New Buffalo's success, right? Is like,
yeah,
the artwork pitch to these bigger organizations that didn't have this kind of artwork before. Yeah,
well, the consumer, it was the consumer. I after I did that shop talk, somebody stopped me at ISS. He didn't come up to me after the show, but he just happened to be passing the hall. He goes, I wanted to say something. He goes, you know, it was my first job out of high school. I was working at Foot Locker, and I remember seeing those mascots come in, and we all freaked out. And then we just waited for the next Salem shipment to come in and tear open to see what it was. And I'm like, that is so cool.
That's gratifying to you.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, this piece was, we went to the McCormick Center in Chicago, and we, you know, part of whatever the sports licensing show. But we were down in the back corner, the cheapest booth in the farthest part of the building, and this shirt got put in the new product display, and basically we were a Chick-fil-A for.
That's just me with a helmet on.
So yeah, and this it's kind of, speaking of Rockwell, this guy I went to school with, it's Harry Granzow. So we find people like the model, and again, we do like a photo shoot and then do an illustration from that. But these are all like probably 30 hours worth of illustration work, you know, airbrushing. That one I did. That's my my father-in-law, Dick Curry.
That's so awesome.
And this one I had to throw in there because I forgot about it. You know, I literally have sitting 3 feet from me 700 to 800 pieces, you know, 20 by 24 airbrushed original artwork still.
Not to, like, I don't know how close you are with anybody, because I know back then it was a lot of like, we don't talk to so and so, and we kind of like are competitive, whatever.
Yeah.
But when I was watching the Ink Kitchen thing, you were talking about the airbrush, and I immediately thought of Andy Anderson.
Yeah.
And I have visited his workshop, not his print shop, but his workshop. And a lot of the things that you're talking about and the things that you cherish and keep are like the exact same with Andy. Like, he has everything. He has totes of like every print he's ever done. He has like all these things. He's just like super proud of what he's done. So I feel like, have you guys like hung out and been like, your
Andy,
heads exploded together or what?
Yes. My wife got to witness it, and I think there's some pictures floating around. So I knew of Andy early on his kind of a hot rod stuff.
Yeah.
Not because I would see it at like automotive stores. And it wasn't like we both ended up doing music stuff later. That kind of like taking a photograph and kind of
that's what I was wondering, because that's the competitive part, is two really, really good dudes at the same thing.
So it's been a mutual respect. If anybody ever asked me, like, do you know this person? Andy Anderson's the only person I'd say, yeah, I've never met him. And he just one day called me out of the blue, I'd say 15 years ago or something. We just started talking. He said, hey, you know, reach out to you. And so then we did a lot of country music for a while, like Garth Brooks, Brooks and Dunn. I got a really funny Brooks and Dunn story, but so I went down to, my wife's got some friends there. Anyways, we were there, and I told Landy I was coming through town and I'd like to. So I went to his shop. We just hung out the whole day and just
same thing. I was there for hours, and he was just showing me everything. Yeah.
So this one was the NHL had an expansion, and they give you stats of the final 8, and then you got to sign a non-disclosure, right? Then it gets down to 4, and they're only picking 2 expansion teams. So we had to like do artwork for the final 4 teams, right? So we did this Jaguar head, and we didn't put the type on it because we weren't sure what the logo was going to be yet, right? And then when it officially came out, it looked like their helmets looked like the Jaguar Motor Company logo, right?
Right.
So they played for a year and then switched the helmets because I think legal reasons. I think
it was too close.
Jaguar, it was too close. So oddly enough, if you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars logo,
it's this basically.
Yeah, this was done a year before they.
That's
so
super cool.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm not putting it out there, but it's exactly a replica.
So then everything's just kind of taken off. We're doing helmets. So these portraits. So this is some of our NFL portrait stuff. This is one I did as I getting more work, and I needed more people. I found it easier to hire artists than to train somebody to separate. So I did less artwork as it went along. But this is
At this point, were you on a computer, or were you still separating the same way?
No, dude. I had a computer. This is right when I started. It was Howtech. It was a company called Howtech. Like everybody was telling me to get on a Mac, and then there was and then other people were telling me Cytex is what you need, right? The Cytex were like $300,000 to $500,000 workstations, and only like publishing houses had them. So Howtech came up with a $80,000 version, which is the first one was a 386 with, the 5.5-inch floppy on it and the CRT monitor.
Imagine doing art
three times as long. Well, to do separations on, we're still doing artwork by hand, right? We didn't go to doing artwork digitally till 2000. I mean, I held out as long as I could. And the reason we had to stop doing it was that desktop, like my first Mac, probably cost me $9,000, right? And that's in like 1990s money. And I remember taking it to a tech, and I said, I want to put as much RAM in as I can in this. And he goes, well, nobody's ever asked me that before. And he says, it's going to be a lot of money. And I'm like, well, whatever. Because, I just got to get stuff done. It was like $20,000 worth of RAM in this, right?
And it was one.
It was to get it up to a megabyte. So by the late 90s, early 2000, you had somebody operating in their basement, no overhead, with a computer they paid, $1,000 for, $2,000, right? And I've got a staff of 12 artists, and we're doing all this very tedious airbrushing, and the just market changed, right?
Is there at this point, I know it's your style and your team style, because I heard you talk about that, how you wanted, if somebody came to you guys for artwork, it all somewhat looked the same when it left, like it was one style. Was there an expectation from people that it had to be this like super detailed illustration thing?
Yeah, well, because when you say when people came for it, it was the consumer who was making this choice, right?
Right.
I mean, whether a buyer at JCPenney's liked it, whether somebody at the leagues liked it, it didn't matter. The reason our stuff, we started selling designs into Foot Locker before we even made them. It's like I got an order for Chicago Bulls Intense Mascot. We didn't do it at Chicago Bulls Intense Mascot. Yeah, but I got an order for 200,000 pieces. Okay, I guess we're doing a Chicago Bulls Intense Mascot, right?
That's hell of an order.
So there's another thing, like printers so every year we had to do a different helmet. This was my favorite year because all of them we did that year. We did cityscapes.
I was gonna say, I just noticed that. That's really cool.
So every team has like a cityscape reflection, and it's pretty cool. Then we did these. And then now it's kind of we kind of run the gamut. Like, what else can we do? And we had one artist. Like everybody who was on the art staff kind of had their own skill sets. Like some guys were great illustrators, not great drawers. Some guys were good, good drawer, good illustrator. And then there were guys who were like super. Lance was one of those guys who became a great illustrator, but was really just somebody who just sat down and drew stuff out of his head, right? And those guys are rare to find.
Is this one of those?
Yeah. So this was one of this concept he came up with because we were like, it was fan oriented. So
right
at this point, we're almost parodying ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You like kind of get bored with what you're doing. Like, what, can we push it? How much the consumer is going to take? I mean, you got Elvis in the audience. There's Lance actually puts. So like the artists from the shop were in there, Lance and Craig.
As the audience.
Yeah, as the audience. So this background piece, I separated the scoreboard and the whole background crowd was the same for all the teams. And then I would only separate the character and the foreground characters each time.
Nice.
So there's the Bears version. Al Capone. There's Lance again. There's Andy Wenner. And so, yeah, we got to have fun putting ourselves in it. So here we go. So this was what we talked about earlier. Guess what we're looking at? Okay.
Go ahead.
One's a digital print. One's a screen print.
What? How old is this?
How old is the digital print? Not old.
Yeah.
So the screen print is probably 92, 93, 94 at latest. So are we just being sheepish because we don't want to be wrong?
No, I'm just trying to see, because I mean,
which one's digital?
They're two different tones. Like, I'm going to say that the one on the left is the screen print.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that. I think the color spectrum on the left, you were able to achieve more, like with, I don't know how you did it, but achieve more than the digital.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that. So, I worked. Michelle Moxley was at New Buffalo about 5 years actually, and her and I worked together on a developing for Jordan. It was a great time, and Michelle's brilliant, and
Yeah.
we're still great friends and share a lot. But when they were doing the digital squeegee, she asked me if I would be interested in facing off like Bobby Fischer against the machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so we're gonna both take you're gonna print one on the digital squeegee, and I'm gonna do a separation and let people determine the winner. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Because first of all, if I think I'm going to lose, I'll just go over and unplug the machine, So I always have that advantage. But it never got off the ground. And part of it was, I think both of us were kind of afraid one would be better than the other, and we didn't want to know. So it just, I just did this morning. I remember doing a digital print of this last year. I'm just testing some fabric. And
now, how do you feel about it though? Like, how do you feel? Because I wouldn't. I mean, if I'm being totally honest, like I would feel that both could totally work as long as you didn't see the other one.
Yeah,
it's exactly. just that. I mean,
yeah,
the life of it, I guess.
Yeah, it's. I like that the point. As long as you don't see the other one, right? That in my head, this is art. This is a commodity.
Yeah.
Right. But that's,
I agree with you.
I think if I'm running the digital squeegee, I'm on an 18 color press or whatever I'm on. And with our digital squeegee, I don't know how many inks they use, but let's just assume it's 4 CMYK. Yeah. You can't hit certain colors with just 4 colors or whatever. And so what I would end up doing is putting in some bump screens,
Right.
Colors.
Right.
So your digital squeegee goes from 3 screens or whatever it is to all of a sudden 6 or 8 in order to achieve this, which you probably achieved with 8 anyway or something. I don't know.
No, that's like probably 15 colors.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah. So, and the reason I do that is to make it easier to print, right? If you try to make a green based on a ratio of like yellow to blue, then you're asking the printer to hit those ratios, right? It's got to be 30-40%. If I just print a green, it can't be anything but green, right?
If you have room on the press.
Yeah. Well, we when I started working with John, the first thing he did is go and buy 18 color presses.
Biggest colors, yeah.
But there was no guessing when the job went up, the ink that registered and started running. If I'm using,
I like that.
We use like CMYK to do it. And just to be clear before we go any farther, because I don't want anybody at M&R, love you guys. When I say this is a digital print, it's not a digital squeegee. It's off like a Brother or an Epson. Let's put it in,
right, because you wanted to do it because the other one never took off. Like the competition never happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. This is not digital squeegee.
So
and Michelle would have tweaked the it would have been really close, and I might have lost.
You hit on something that I think is important, and that is a lot of us. Let's say we bid a job, and we had bid this job 7 color. I don't know. Let's just say we did, and in order to keep within our quote, so we quoted it at 7 color, we want to make 7 screens. But if it's for enough shirts, what you said a minute ago makes a lot of sense, is why not make 10 screens? Because the time it takes messing around on press to try and achieve, like if we change out the squeegee, or if we change the squeegee angle, we're going to get a little more green out of this, or whatever that bullshitting around is.
Yeah.
If you were to just make 3 more screens, put the green in the screen and print it, you're going to be faster on your setup, and just your job's going to start going, and you're not going to be horsing around.
That's what here's like, what's your setup time while I calculate per screen? No, in real life, because you don't know if it's a complex job, what it's going to look like when it sets up. Right. And it may come down, and it may be a rework. So I'll give this one of my all-time secrets that I still walk into a store and I see somebody printing. I'm like, what's wrong with these people? basic blends. If somebody sends me artwork and let's pick a color, it goes from red to blue. Trying to get that transition, you're going to have a funky area where your dots stop, especially if it's a lighter color, right? The two have the kind of same grayscale value, but when you overprint it, you just don't, the fade doesn't happen. It just like looks like it's fading and then it stops.
Right. It's a hard cut.
I always add a it's not in the art because they do it in Photoshop by taking red and then taking blue over top of it. But that's not real life. And so it's just, you're going to go, well, of course that makes sense. What you do is take whatever red you have, whatever blue you have, mix it in equal parts and print that in the middle as your transitional color. So now you've got a fade going up and a fade coming down before, right? Or it's a solid fade on it.
But now you're kind of cheating it to where
I'm cheating it because
you have consistency.
I've actually mixed the mid-tone. So now it goes from blue to purplish color to red.
Right.
And I'm not counting on the printer to do it. I'm giving the printer the tools to make his life easier and to make the thing more consistent. And like you said, now we got to screw around with mesh or squeegee angle because the dot's not fading where I want.
Right.
So
makes sense.
Yeah. There you go. I just made it up to M&R. They're going to sell more multicolored machines now. So this, went into baseball. It's the same kind of look. We were the first one to do rings. I can say that because it's true. Not rings, obviously. Rings were around forever, but do them on shirts.
Yeah.
Now I see them all over the place. When did you start to see? Because obviously, doing such a good job at stuff like this, you're going to start to see copycats popping up. When did you start to see that this started coming into play? Wow, you
had to have been doing it for a while before people could figure it out.
Yeah, I don't want to say this with like any sense of self grandeur, right? But I think there was probably a point where I was the only person on the planet who understood what I was doing and could achieve it. And that was probably a 3 to 5 year period.
Right.
But
I mean, with anything this great, it's going to have somebody.
Yeah. No.
I need to figure that out.
So, I mean, well, nobody from Salem's around anymore, so I can say this. So they paid us a premium. They had their own license and their own art staff, their own printer and stuff. They paid me and New Buffalo a premium. I mean, at this time, I'm running my whole company on royalties, right? For every shirt that sells, I get.
So you were pushing that.
Oh yeah, I did from the deal. First time I did the deal with Hollaback to my deal with New Buffalo, it was all royalty driven.
That's awesome.
I had skin in the game. Well, good for me until I suck. Right. Then I can't.
Well dries up.
Then I can't just show up to work and collect a paycheck. Right. I mean, that's the downside to that. The pressure to sell. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's not even what you like or you particularly want to do. I mean, that's the deal with the devil that you make when you commercial artist or you want, how many bands. Well, if you want to make it big, you got to sell out. Well, yeah, yes, or choose that lifestyle. It's and I don't make any judgments. I don't consider bands who sell out sellouts.
Right. Well, did it get to a point when somebody else started being able to do the same thing that you were just
it was close. It was close enough. So even Salem when another company took it over, I'm not going to say, they actually tried knocking us off because what we did is we came in and raised the mark. Well, the mark at retail because, they're like, well, we're already selling shirts. If we're paying you guys to do art and separation on top of what we are, then we have to charge more. And they're like, yeah, we'll charge more. I mean, I have the same thing that experience with Sony, with Billy Joel and Elton John went out on tour together. I did unknowingly, we were pretty free developing for them back then. I did Billy and Elton on a shirt, and it was like a really cheesy idea, but they loved it. And I took two separate photos. I put them back to back, and I screwed around with the lighting so that made them look like they were standing together on a black, just like kind of headshots of them. And they both happen to have sunglasses on, so I put a reflection of American flag and Billy Joel's glasses, and a reflection of the British flag and Elton John's, right? And we sent it to them, and they loved it. The artist loved it, but the management team says, no way, we're not splitting royalties on a shirt.
Oh, that's stupid.
Well, hey, good for them, right? Their job is to take care of their client, right?
Yeah.
And if you so what we told them was, take our shirt out at $5 more, make it 10 if you want, but let's say 5. They agreed to 5. Whatever you don't sell the first show, we'll buy them back. John and I told them. Sold out like the first 2 hours of the show. So
then they ended up splitting royalties then, I'm guessing.
Well, it wasn't even about that. It was set. You wonder how concert shirts go up. It set a new watermark for what you could sell at a concert.
Right.
They were
so
like,
you're the reason why if I go to a Garth Brooks show and I get a white Gildan with a black print on it, it's $55.
Now I'm going to jump to Garth's defense here, because I did all of his tour work during the 90s and whatever. It is absolutely true of every other artist I know except Garth Brooks. And I know it's hard to believe, but you see Garth goes to Cleveland and sells out 3 nights in a row. You're like, holy cow, the guy's really popular. Or he could charge $200 a ticket, right, and just do one night. He would not let the merchandise sell for, he said a t-shirt shouldn't be more than $20. My fans shouldn't pay. I don't care. I'm not sure if that was the number. If anything, it was lower.
So I used the one guy as an example. That is the guy who would not fucking sell a shirt for $50.
No, that's synchronicity, right?
Yeah.
What were the odds? I'm a real big believer in that. Like, things that were just statistically improbable was meant to happen, right? So that was that cue was to have me to tell that Garth story.
It's meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I will play 3 nights at $40 a head, so that the people who can see me who want to see me can see me, rather than charge $120 and screw you if you can't pay for the ticket.
I saw him a couple of years ago, and it was amazing.
I bet you didn't sell very many of these Chicago Bulls shirts, though. You probably got stuck with a few of those.
And I had a conversion van that we drove to the Bills game just for Bills party that had Michael Jordan's name on it, because he bought it for me.
No shit.
Wearing that shirt. Well,
I know they printed. They
bought it for me in kind? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. They copyrighted Three-Peat, I think.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you ever did a shirt with that on it. But
no, that was. But so the story. This picture's been out here forever.
Most of our listeners are on audio. They don't even watch it on YouTube, so they're going to miss some of the visuals.
Well, there's a good chunk for sure, but I'd like to describe basic. We've done a good job describing what's on screen.
Yeah, so. I think so too.
I love this.
This quick story is so. Whether people know this or not, you have we see people playing the championship game and somebody comes up and sticks a hat on the guy, right? That's because somebody paid good money to make that happen, to be the official locker room shirt or whatever.
Right.
I'm not speaking out of school. This is everybody should at least assume that they're not just wearing it because they think it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So in the NBA, they had sealed bids, and the company that won the bid, Pippen and the other guy.
I'm not a sports guy, so
Scottie Pippen wore it. Anyways, everybody else on the team wore the white official NBA says you have to wear this shirt. We knew somebody who knew Michael's mom, and we shipped our shirt, which was not the official shirt, that we didn't pay to be the official shirt, to her. And on
Michael's mom.
On the day of the parade, Michael shows up wearing it, and he lets Scottie Pippen wear one too. So there's this sea of white. The beautiful irony is the people who paid for it to be the white shirt. Michael standing out this black shirt against this whole white background. It was just, it's like one of those moments where everything comes together.
That's really funny too, because I just watched that Air movie about the shoes
I haven't
and all
seen
that stuff,
yet.
and they pretty much said that the way to Michael was through his mom. Yeah. Like with everything. So you basically were like doing the same thing of like, if we want to get to Michael, we need to get a shirt to his mom.
Well, it couldn't have been, I'm sure thousands of stuff got through to him, right? I had a similar experience with Aaron Lewis, but that's a story for another time, where I was told there's no way you're going to see Aaron until I showed him the shirt that I made for him. And he's like, yeah, he'll meet you like 10 minutes before the show. So, this is funny because I just found it there, and it to me is a reminder of, like, this is something we did in like maybe 98 as a concept.
That's like a nightmare of a shirt to print.
It didn't take off, but now would sell like hotcakes. Oh yeah, like, this is the trend.
That's the trend right now. Exactly.
So a lot of times, like, you just have to be patient with stuff. I find that, and then so we went in the NHL. We wanted to do goalie masks. The problem is there's an artist who created it, and the NHL didn't know how to do. And so there's the Buffalo Sabres Stanley Cup champion. When did the Buffalo Sabres win a Stanley Cup, you might ask, if you were a hockey fan? Not yet, but it's coming.
It's just waiting.
So I have Bill's Super Bowl championship ring shirts. I have.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Was you take crazy amount of time to make these like beautiful, intricate designs? Like,
yeah.
Do you have like a folder of this shit where like you said, like that?
No,
style,
he has them on zip drive.
Right, on zip drives. Yeah. Do you have like, because the style of art was really popular when you were creating it, but I feel like it's also really popular now.
Yeah.
Like so do you have stuff where you can just like pump out stuff to people now and be like, buy this, buy this, buy this?
Yeah.
Because it never was sold?
Probably, but I don't know. I mean, at some point I'll look to sell the whole archive, and I have the original art and all that.
I feel like it would sell like crazy right now.
So with these championships, you always had to do both. Like when it got down to the semifinals, you had to do 4 teams, even though 2 teams weren't making. Then, so this was the year the Sabres were in the. Oh, I finally made that thing go away, and I don't know what I did. Funny.
Just do some "Let's Go Buffalo" shirts.
No, the like the date that's up in time. I moved my mouse and it went away. So yeah, the Sabres were against the Stars, and Brett Hull was in the crease for overtime goal that didn't count, and people in Buffalo are still bitter about it. So spent 1 year doing NASCAR, and that was enough.
Why?
Well,
I know, because of all the sponsors.
Well, that, and believe it or not, the biggest, when I say in the licensing part isn't like t-shirts, it's die-cast collectibles.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to sell more collectibles, you need to change your paint scheme more, right? So sometimes they'll run it. So you start out at the beginning of the year, and then I'm giving away all these industry inside. But yeah, I mean, the number one reason they changed paint schemes is like so they can sell more collectibles. I'm not talking from a sponsorship standpoint, and
yeah, that makes sense.
And this Budweiser maybe not the best example of it. I know on Jeff Gordon's car, like DuPont was his main sponsor, but then each of these posts are paid for. The rear quarter is a different sponsor. Budweiser happened to buy both, but on Jeff Gordon's car, it was DuPont on the hood and Pepsi back here. So you could only show the car from certain angles, right? Because and now you had to get through basically any of these top tier sponsors had to approve the design. So it was a nightmare getting this stuff approved.
Yeah.
And then the cars would change all the time and it just, but it was just fun. We just had fun with it.
That cornflakes one is so cool.
Yeah.
Blasting out of the box.
Yeah. Got the milk. The milk just tops off. And the strawberry. We did, and that I love that's I like this because this kind of the reflection. Yeah, the reflection it's kind of that heat shimmer, off of asphalt, so but like I said, that was just fun stuff to do. Then what I spent so much time doing rock and roll like for 10 years, didn't really get to do art much, but the Stones Bridges to Babylon tour they had us develop for, and I'm pretty sure Tommy Hilfiger was in kind of in charge of this. I didn't go to the meeting, but apparently he loved everything we did for that. But this was the kinds I really don't. This I did in Photoshop.
I was going to say it looks like a Photoshop effect.
But if you ask me how I did it, I couldn't repeat it. I've tried a couple times. That's like stuff. One of my favorite Ozzy, and the t-shirt looks even better than that. That was one of Andy's paintings. A lot of this stuff was, I know there you go, Garth Brooks. Everybody has to have some Elvis in there. I think we probably did 6 or 7 different Elvis. So here, I love this because was me jumping my own shark. It was like we're by about 2000 by then, right? And I'd already got sick of everything we were doing, right? And the Doobie Brothers wanted to design. And I think John suggested about like an eagle. We should have an eagle riding a motorcycle. And I'm like, no, we should have an eagle riding a motorcycle with flames shooting out of it, right? Like, and I kind of did that at Harley. I got to a point where, because they were, hey, they want something new. The dealers say they want something new,
but it's all the same.
And I go, what do you mean by that? Well, a new version of an eagle and a flag. Well, that's not new. It's like, so like this is the point. Like you said, this look had been, we lost kind of the unique aspect that enough people were imitating it that it was time to jump my own shark, right? And nobody got it. And then Stephen Vu, I hope I can get his name right, was a developer at Jordan. And they came out to visit New Buffalo, and I had all this art sitting around, this airbrush stuff. And it's like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. And I get it. It's like cats in space, right? That's how cool it is. And I gave him that painting. So there's two pieces I've given away. And then I think quickly, I don't know if you got a 2-hour cap. So at some point I started my own brand, Amphibious Outfitters. If you dive, of them, you probably have a shirt. I'll just, see.
What was the thought behind that? Like quickly, like You were into scuba and you decided you wanted to make your own brand of it, and you had all the obviously talent to do so.
Well, it was a little more than that. It was experience. I wouldn't have the confidence to do it if it wasn't for my experience in Harley, which was, JC Penney's would order some Harley stuff one season, but I don't know if you can count on it the next. What you were doing was selling to dealers, right? And there's a dealership network of 2,000 or 3,000 shops out there, all mom and pop owned, right? So the person who's buying the shirt has a stake in it, right? They're buying what they think is going to sell.
Yeah.
And so I got into scuba diving and went down to Bonaire to do my open water certification because it's 100-foot visibility, and if something's coming at me, I want 100-foot notice. It's like one of the clearest was. I get out and I'm like, I go into the dive shop and like, now I'm a scuba diver. I'm looking for scuba diving stuff, and I'm like, there's nothing here. Right. Now I found out later, I think No Fear actually started as a scuba brand.
That's great.
But then when people started seeing it everywhere else, dive shops didn't want it. So we did this. We went to a surf / scuba expo in Orlando. That came out with like 8 pieces, hung it up, got some attention from Ron Johns, but they wanted me to. They thought the logo was too big on the front, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm trying to start a brand. I want people to see it from 30 feet. And they said if I sized it down, they'd buy some. And I said, well.
You said, well, I kind of fucking know what I'm talking about, so how about you leave me alone?
Again, I don't want to talk shit about people. It wasn't me saying I know what I'm doing. It was me. My brand was more like to have it go into Ron John's and be absorbed by that didn't help where I wanted to go. Right. Very tempting, right? Most people are going to write that order. Say, what do you want us to do? I'll make the frog blue if you want.
Right.
But I wanted it to establish a brand. So I took a long-term approach and very politely said, no, thank you. So I mean, this is just like clever shit, right? That's like It doesn't even make sense. Like the frog, he's dragging the whip, but and this is like, to me, this is what T-shirts were like when I was a kid, right? If you did see somebody, they were it was a statement, right?
Yeah.
So, or something funny or whatever.
It's like those Big Johnson shirts.
Well, I don't know what to think about like Co-Ed Naked, Big Johnson, all those that came through. I do know what I shouldn't say I don't know what to think about them. It's like, God bless them, man. Like you get an idea that strikes with people. I don't care who thinks it's corny, right? Make a bunch of money, blow it up, go do something else,
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
that's pretty much what happened.
We would all kill. I mean, I remember hearing this story. I wish I remember which brand it was, but like in the early days of video games and when it made the transition from arcades to home units, one of the early companies just disappeared, and they're like, yeah, we got so much cash that we don't even want to play in that arena.
Yeah. Like,
let's just take our ball and go home. And I'm like, sometimes that's a good business decision, right? Yeah. Like when you've hit your peak and because the more you go uphill, right, the more energy
they're going to try the incline. They're going to have to spend a ton of money to try to play catch up and then not work out anyway.
Yeah. And to keep accelerating, right?
Yeah.
So that was this one, I think, stayed in our catalog for like 15 years. So that was my dive brand. So I know it's hilarious. Oops, I'm gonna get. I don't want to. I had Disney stuff, but I thought better of it because I don't know that we want to be showing Disney stuff.
Getting in trouble.
Yeah. So this is a good way to end up the Hoodoo House. Somebody's really good. So one day I'm driving. At this point, I probably got like 8 artists working for me. I'm driving by this place to see it's for sale.
This is in Buffalo?
Yeah. Well, it's actually north of Buffalo. You can literally on the cupola up there, if you go up to the top, you can see Toronto, the CN Tower.
That place has mostly windows. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's 100 windows. So that was it's like, this is for sale. I can't believe it. And it was.
And then you found out because it was insane to heat.
Yes, that was. If $2,000 a month is insane, I don't know what is. Had an old boiler in it and stuff, but so we so I go to tour the place because I'm thinking this is a perfect art studio. All this natural light, and they got a little booklet there on a shelf. And it's owned by the Sisters of, or the Buffalo Diocese, Sisters of St. Joseph's, right? So there's nuns living here. Love them all. They were like family when we moved in. I told them when I bought it, it's like come back and visit anytime you want. They took full advantage of it. Be the middle of the day, and there'd be Sister Mary Catherine and just, oh, what are you doing in the kitchen? I was like, oh yeah, but so. I find this book and they have the Nuns Live in Hoodoo House. And this is like a paper clipping. So like, now that the ghosts are gone, there's plenty of room at the end. So this is what it looked like when the Buffalo Diocese bought that. And they built a house, or they built that exterior around. This sounds like how a horror movie starts, where dude, like this is the house that all the murders happened in. Yeah. So if anybody wants to do a Netflix documentary, I've got it. I mean, I literally put a binder together like this of the shit that went on there. It's
is this still yours?
Insane. No, so after I sold the new Buffalo, everybody went up there and worked, and me and my wife were living in it, and it was ridiculous. That's Dr. Ring. Is that the phone?
Dr. Ring did some creepy shit in there.
This is not like you think like I'm talking like ghost story stuff. This is all documented. He was the head of the Buffalo psychiatric ward and retired out there to grow apples, whatever. And his wife ended up dead. He ended up dead. The one of the girls who married Dr. Ring after his wife died, she ended up taking over the farm. It is just weird stuff. So it was actually on haunted. This house was on haunted history. So I went to the auction and bought some of the stuff there, and I had to. There's a statue of St. Joseph that I put it. He's at the bottom of the back stairs and right behind the door. So you knew he was there, but every time you walk by,
I wish you still own this because I'm not far from you. Like I could just drive there and
we can go down
2 hours. I want to see this house now.
It's a winery now, so it is open.
Okay.
The problem is if you go in and talk to her, she pretends like I was never there. So for me, like you don't own a place like this. It was built in like 1850. And there's a history of owners, and I was just a guy who filled that time period. Now somebody else is.
Yeah. But
like, how many people got an art studio that comes with its own chapel, dude?
Yeah.
You
guys were possessed to make some good art.
So just to give you idea of scale, there's another shot of the house. Roughly 10,000 square feet.
I'm gonna have to drive up just to look at it.
So that's where all the magic happened. And that's me and Andy. So we're it was me, and then Andy was the first.
It's like a prog band album cover.
Yeah. Well, that's because their haircuts are 20 years behind. Otherwise, yeah. And then I'm going to throw this in. So all the guys, I want to make sure I mention the artists, Craig Howell, Tony Morrow, Lance Irwin, Sherry Wenner, Sherry Bender, who was Sherry Wenner. Those are kind of my cores. I hope I'm not, but Chad Groman. So Chad was a great, like everybody had a specialty. He was our illustrator guy. And he had this great sense of design and quirkiness, but I could never, like we talked about, like what people expected of us out of the studio. Like I wanted to break out so bad, and I was bored with what we were doing.
And he was just doing something different.
So, well, a lot of times because he was just like the illustrator guy. Because I encouraged, if they were in Jersey, I encouraged all my guys, do something new, do something crazy, right? This doesn't have to be done this week. Just do something crazy. I'll take the risk. It's my payroll.
Right.
What if it ever so Chad would just do the stuff. And I look back, I was going through it last night. I look back at it and it's like 20 years later. And I'm like, people weren't ready for it. And now it just looks so, it's so much different than what we were doing. I love the mailbox.
That's cool. It has like a totally different style for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but everybody had that. But like I said, when we did a bunch of Y2K stuff that was hilarious too, by the way. So that's the end of that. Boy,
that's awesome, dude. Thank you for sharing all that stuff. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. What are you doing now? Like, what is your day-to-day look like?
So with the new Buffalo was acquired by Gildan in 2013, I believe. So it sounds right. It's about 10 years of that. And the reason for that was because the brands, without naming any specifically, they're all the same size. At one time, we're buying blanks, warehousing them in places around the country and contract printing to people. And they decided this just isn't manageable. We want to buy a vertical product. So the Gildan's Global Lifestyle division, which deals with global lifestyle brands. So printing is under that. So
right.
I spend half my time in Honduras and half back here. So I'm involved with the major brands doing separation and overseeing the whole art side of it.
Yeah. I was just there in January, saw the sewing facility.
Yeah. Yeah. The sewing facility.
Yeah. We didn't get to
get there, were y'all?
No.
Yeah, man, that place is impressive.
Yeah. I didn't get to see it.
I mean, it's so ecologically friendly too. I mean, the stuff that they do there is really just amazing. It's a great company to work for. And I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
Because I'm selling out, man. Selling out.
Sold out to the man.
Look, if I started my own brand, which I did, I would use Gildan, which I did. And because anybody is out there thinking of doing their own brand, first question you ask is it available? Can I get it?
Right. True.
That's the worst place you want to be.
Especially if you want to scale. Yeah.
Yeah. Pick a garment that you can't get and then tell your customers. So, but it's a great organization.
Andy, do you want to do a couple listener questions?
Yeah. So what do you have? Do you have it pulled up?
All right. Black Dog Inc. says, I came across an article a number of years ago which outlined your initial wet-on-wet smash dot technique of using the ink buildup to help smooth blends, and it is what inspired my style of printing today. You should check this guy out, by the way, if you get online. It's Black Dog Inc. out of Australia. The guy's amazing. Okay. He said, how has your printing technique changed, if at all, over the years in the industry?
Well, water-based, right? You can't, you're not going to get water-based inks wet on wet to blend. You're going to get them to pick up, dry and pick off. So you have to be very, your approach has to be very technical. You have to have way more heads than you need. It's not ideal.
You look like a beaten dog while you talk about it.
I mean, look, to be honest, we got 36 station machines, right? We got 12 heads and a flash cool station. We could flash and cool every color if we wanted.
Yeah.
Not many people do.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Gorilla Joe says, being contract, what is the biggest whoopsie ever? Rejected order or miscommunication with client?
Dude, this biggest, I'll take biggest whoopsie for 30, wink. So there's a great moral in this too. Doing Super Bowl rings, the 49ers, it's going like one for the thumb, I think. So it's like the 5th ring, right? So we have this history of doing rings, and now it's like 5 rings. Well, so what we did is go back and grab rings from previous years to put it like in a design so that there were 5 rings on a shirt. Well, the newest ring, I won't say his name, Craig. Yeah. Because he's going to be listening. So he's the artist who does it, and he misspelled San Francisco. Get the S and the C kind of mixed up. So, a mistake. Problem is, we send the comp to the league. The league approves it.
Oh God, that's the worst.
No, what's worse than that is they put it's in ads, national ads. Like you open up the newspaper, they got a picture of it in there.
Oh boy.
42,000 shirts into the run. Somebody at the end of the dryer says, "Hey, San Francisco spelled wrong."
So who eats that?
Not the retailer. So there was a whole back and forth right initially of whose fault it was. And, John and our defense was, why do you pay people to do approvals? Right? Why do you even have a license?
Well, that would be my argument, was be like, well, you approved it. That's the point of this.
Right. So being good partners, I think we split the cost with Salem of the blanks and whatever. I think he ate the printing, I ate the what art, and then John and I split the difference of what.
How much are one of those worth on eBay? That's what I want to know.
So here's the interesting part, because the dilemma I faced as an employer: what do you do with that artist who initiated the mistake? Because none of this happened.
I would fill his office with those blanks, like completely to the brim with the.
You're assuming he's got an office after this. That's very nice of you.
Pave his driveway, and
so what I did, I think was not only was clever but also valuable. I sent him home for a week with pay. I sent him home for a week without pay. He just sits and pisses and moans that everybody else looked at it as, why have I got to? And it was just you're not allowed to come to work.
You'll never do it again.
You'll never, but so it took any chance for him to be bitter about it away, because it didn't cost him a penny.
Right.
He just lost his right to come to work. And, I love the guy. We're still great friends today. He's the guy who made me, maybe that was the reason I taught him so many good lessons. He made me that guitar there.
That's awesome.
So,
all right, last one. Denver Print House says,
hey,
what automations have you built to help with simulated process steps? And he's got like 4 things in here. He says, what opacity % do you use for Photoshop? Worst meltdown you saw, and I don't understand the last one. New Buffalo. Why? What did JW do? I don't know what he means by that, but so the first question was, what automations have you built?
Okay.
Yeah. What automations have you built that help with simulated process steps?
Just actions. Look, if people want to use like automated step programs, like God bless them if they can figure out how it works. But the idea that now AI may be able to start be able to distinguish between a human's face and a piece of apple pie, right? With color, like Flash may have some greens in it, some whatever, that picks up any of these automated. So if you see an automated set program, it's usually and it's a demo, it's dialed in specifically for that piece of art. And it's like pure color and stuff. My separation style has always been, it's never changed from when I was in a dark room.
What opacity percentage do you use in Photoshop?
I don't want, if I throw a number out there, everybody will say that's what it's supposed to be. My answer to that is you need to know what your so first of all, there's opacity and solidity, right? And they work two totally different. Like solidity is for transparent colors. Opacity or mask channels are assuming that you're 100% opaque and that there's a way to control the transparency. Photoshop doesn't address what really happens in screen printing. So we can not the channels are good, but they don't really emulate what's happening. So I can't answer that because a 287 blue will have a different solidity or opacity, right? 285 blue. Why? Because there's white in it. So you have to look at.
So it's different based on the color.
Yeah, you have to look at the formula. Pull your Pantone book out, look at the formulation, how much white's in something, and then obviously the more white in it, the more opaque it's going to be. Right. But it's also mixing white, right? So it's not a totally opaque white. So I don't know that there's a standard answer. You have to understand, and it's just through experience, or I guess you could do a test that they shouldn't all be the same.
Right. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it for listener questions that I think we haven't already covered. Andy, do you want to do quick takes?
Yeah. And I think this is appropriate. We're at 3 hours. Well, Dylan and I are because of pregame, and it's our third anniversary. So, hey,
it's perfect.
We might set a shirt show record here as far as the length. And I'm okay with that. This is
I'm very happy with that. This has been amazing.
I could go like 6 hours. We could keep this going. But quick takes. The first one is 3 things you do to start your day.
These are all going to be personal questions. That has nothing to do with printing. A Diet Mountain Dew. What is that? Oh,
yeah, it's a Seneca Nation brand cigarettes.
Oh, there you go. My mom smokes Senecas.
So, well, yeah, these are they're so they're $20 a carton. So I don't have to pay New York State tax. Those are the 2 things, and the third thing is take my computer out of sleep mode. So I get right out of bed, grab a Dew and a cigarette, sit down at my computer. I take care of eating or showering when it's convenient.
That's the best. That's the best opposite answer that we normally get. Normally it's like, oh, I do yoga or I stretch and I have a tall glass of water. You're like, nah. Well, Seneca's Mountain Dew computer.
Yeah, you only have so minutes in this world, and if you want to spend them stretching, knock yourself out.
Next question. What would be an unhappy meal for you?
Yeah. Anything casserole. So I refuse to eat casseroles. It was here's my rule. If my parents wouldn't let us believe. People used to actually be parents. It's the craziest thing. You wouldn't let you leave the table till you finished what was on your plate, right?
That's how I grew up too.
And so there was like the shit that you hated, like turnips or whatever, and it's like you had to gag it down. And my whole time, like I'm just looking at the calendar. I'm going to be 18 someday. I'm going to be 18 someday, and you can't tell me I got to eat this stuff. So anything that I had to eat because not because I wanted to, but because I had to, is off my list permanently.
So the day casseroles is one of them.
Tuna noodle casserole.
Dude, tuna noodle casserole is gross as fuck.
13 kids in the house. There was a lot of casseroles. And believe me, it was a glorious day when we got banquet fried chicken. That was our treat.
It's awesome.
Okay, so would you rather sail around the world or...
Well, you don't. Wait. Don't even say the next one. I would rather do that.
Okay.
You'd rather sail around the world?
No. I would rather do whatever he says.
On anything other than sail.
Get ran over by a bulldozer.
Or eat tuna casserole.
Eat tuna casserole.
Okay.
I have, yeah.
Well, you got to explain a little bit.
I have no sense of venture. I don't want to go to Europe, and I don't want to see the great buildings, and I don't want to see beautiful sunsets, and the idea of being trapped. It's the if you had a better question, would you cruise ship or county lockup? Easy.
County lockup.
Easy. Yeah.
As long as you have a Dew and a Seneca, then
yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. I know some people. I can get it in. Believe me, I can get it in.
What if the ocean is made of dew and the boat is full of Senecas? Would you be all right?
Yeah. But I live in
and you have unlimited internet access on your computer. Let's see. What are you? Is there anything that you're watching, reading, or listening to right now that you really like?
So I've watched, like most people, pandemic means any good series that's ever been made, you've already seen. I don't read like I used to. I spent maybe 5 to 10 years like reading everything I could. Mostly like if I'm separating, I need white noise. So I've always had like a TV on or something. Now it's YouTube, and there's people I listen to on YouTube who are smarter than me.
What are you watching on YouTube? Is it what?
If you say, then some people hate you, some people like it's not worth it.
All right.
Usually I go with the same question I have for 155 episodes, but this one is special and it's different. And I have this: how much of your success is attributed to the work you put in, and how much is due to luck? And that is how I built this question that they ask at the end of every episode.
So, I mean, I want to say 50-50. But there's the big problem I have with that, and I tell people all the time who seem to be struggling with the fact that they can't, whatever they determine as a success, they can't find it. It's because, like, if you're waiting for your ship to come in, it's probably a good idea to learn to swim. Like, you go to the ship. So the fact that I was successful meant I was prepared when that lucky opportunity came along. If I wasn't prepared for it, it wouldn't have been luck. It would have just been something. It would have been another ad in the paper, right? That I didn't even pay attention to. The only reason it was lucky is because I was prepared to act on it.
Right. What is
So like everything that happened, from everything in my life that builds to the next thing. It seems like luck, but it's actually the path that you're on, because there is no other path.
Yeah, like somebody says, oh, lucky shot. You have to be in the game to be able to take the shot.
Exactly. Exactly. And that was just a series of events. I have nothing. Like I said, I told you earlier, I really believe in synchronicity, and that there's just your story. You're not as much in control of your story as you think you are, and if you are attuned to it, your story will turn out a lot better.
Dave, we super appreciate you being on. Again, this was our 3 year, so it was a little extra special, but we really wanted to have you on. I really appreciate it. It's super great to finally meet you.
I had fun.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
My shirt show boys. It's Christina from Varsity, Print Girl Mafia, and most recently, past couple months, been behind the scenes for y'all at Shirt Show. As you both know, Shirt Show absolutely changed my life. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm so thankful for you two. And as you'll see, a lot of people feel the same way. I'm so damn proud of you two, and I want to wish you a happy 3-year anniversary. The only way I know how. Cheers to many more.
What's going on, guys? Hopefully this video gets you in time up at the cabin. Congrats on 3 years. Let's get another 3.
Good morning, guys. Just driving to work, listen to the Shirt Show. Just want to say congrats on 3 years. You guys are the best.
Hey, what's up, boys? Congrats on 5 years of running the awesomest #2 podcast in the screen printing world. Love you, from Bruce. No, I'm just kidding. Congrats, you've been able to put out some amazing content. So very thankful for that. And cheers to 5 more.
Josh from Northprint in Australia. Spent many years listening to your podcast while I managed a veggie farm, and just left recently to print full time. Learned so much from you guys. Congrats on 3 years. Keep it up. Cheers.
Happy anniversary, Shirt Show. Cape Shark's favorite thing to do on Mondays is to listen to Shirt Show.
3 years. 3 years of Shirt Show equates to about 100,000 miles in here. So thank you guys. Congratulations. Keep being awesome.
What's up, Andy and Dylan? This is Tyler Carroll with TC Screen Printing, and I just want to say congratulations on 3 years. Stoked for everything you guys are doing in our industry. Proud to call you guys friends. Have a great day.
Hey everybody, Nate over at Hanson Screen Printing. Just want to say thanks for doing everything you do week to week. That's awesome. Takes a lot of dedication, and we appreciate it. And thank you for giving us all a platform to network on. So thanks. Say bye.
Hey, Matt Marcotte here from Inktavo, Printavo Wingstop, also Sound and Fury. Yeah, I'm going to miss the guys. Dylan and Andy were the best. I can't believe the news. It's a big hole to fill, especially Dylan's hole. It's a little bigger than Andy's hole, right? So a big hole to fill, and they'll be met. What? Oh, they didn't die. Oh, it's for I guess happy anniversary. Are they together now officially? We all saw it coming. Okay, well, happy anniversary, guys. All right, see ya.
3 years, 1.7 thousand subscribers. Someday you'll get there.
Happy anniversary, Amber Massey, T-Shirt for Hope, Fortson, Georgia. I'm in Alabama at the lake, but whole point, happy anniversary. Thank y'all. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for the humor. Thank you for the F-bombs are a little overwhelming for this Georgia girl, but thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for being there, for letting us reach out and just get to know other people in the industry and gain their knowledge. So happy anniversary.
Hey guys, it's Rick. I just want to say thanks for all you do. We've laughed with you, cried with you, discovered our feelings with you, modeled our whole lives after you guys. So here's to more episodes to come and many more What's for Dinners.
Rick is the one that, as you guys know, he's the one that introduced me to you guys, to your show. And although I had no business listening to you guys in the beginning, it gave me a lot of insight into his world and the whole screen printing craft. Your advice is not just for screen printers, because it's helped me in my own field. And the best thing is that you introduced me to this incredible community where I've made some amazing friends. So keep spreading the knowledge and the laughs.
My lads, it's Tony over at Tiny Fish. Just want to say congratulations on 3 big years of a big podcast, biggest the world's ever seen. When I started listening to the Shirt Show, I was a humble one manual print shop. And after only 3 years, I've grown my business to 4 automatics solely because of the advice I've gotten from these guys. So congratulations. Thank you. You're appreciated. And I miss both of you. Happy 3-year anniversary.
Hey, boys. Happy 3 years. Appreciate the hell out of you guys. Max, say hi to Tia.
Whew. You know, the Shirt Show, it's like a cold bath on a hot summer day. Reality, guys, Andy, Dylan, you have done an amazing job taking relevant topics at relevant times to the industry, really helping people out. It's entertaining, it's educational, and I hope to listen for years to come. Ryan Moore from my daily ice bath, checking out. Woo!
Andy, Dylan, it's your favorite friend, Richard Tilley. Listen, I just wanted to congratulate you guys. Who would have thought 3 years ago, in your mom's basement, you would have come up with an idea that would have turned you into international, worldwide superstars? Well, at least to me you are. So anyways, congratulations, guys. I'm looking forward to what you have next. And thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. And I'm looking forward for more inspiration. Later, guys.
What up, y'all? It's Zach, a.k.a. The Can of Corn. You see me on the road doing my thing with Rock, at the classes with Maylab, and obviously here with my homie Cody and our amazing team doing our thing at Self-Made. We just want to give a huge shout out and much love to Andy and Dylan, 2 of the dopest people in the industry. We're so fortunate to have you guys. You're always pushing the industry forward, and you've provided us one of the dopest podcasts ever in the Shirt Show. You know, keep doing what you're doing, guys, and we're so blessed. And, you know, I'm honored to be able to call you guys my friends and part of my print fam. Love y'all.
Happy anniversary. Alexa and Tyler here from In-House Prints.
Thanks for everything that you do for the industry, and we can't wait to see what you do in the next 3 years.
Happy 3 years, Shirt Show, from Lizzie at Relentless.
Yo, what's up? It's Nathan from Relentless Merch. Congrats on the anniversary, guys. I love you, miss you. See you at the next trade show.
What's up, Andy and Dylan? Hey, Multicraft Daddy here. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I just want to say thanks for everything you guys do, bringing fun, knowledge, and just all around good times to the industry. Really appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else does. Thanks again.
Dylan, congrats. Absolutely love listening to you guys. It's been an awesome 3 years. Andy, you're all right too.
Hey, what up? This is Jose with Heavy Ink Printing out of Southern California. I want to congratulate the Shirt Show on their 3-year anniversary. Love your guys' show. Keep them coming.
Andy and Dylan, congratulations on 3 years of what I can only imagine started as kind of a joke and turned into something that became incredibly important to a lot of us. I know you two can be credited with probably about 80% of some of the massive changes I've made within our business, and the amount of people that you have positively affected the work lives of and probably personal lives of in the last 3 years is some ungodly number. And I know everyone jokes all the time, especially you two, but what you do is super important, and you unlocked a very private industry and created friends where there used to just be competition. And I know everyone says that all the time, but it's very different now than it used to be. And while I'm sure other people might argue that it's not just because of the Shirt Show and you guys, in my world, it is. And I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to call you guys friends. And everyone here at AKT is super excited that you exist. And that was not the sign off I wanted to do. Oh well. Congratulations.
Gentlemen of the Shirt Show, congratulations on hitting a pretty impressive milestone in the industry. Tyler from Workhorse coming at you. Just wanted to take a quick minute here from Bryce Canyon and say congratulations on the show. and I'm very much looking forward to the call up to do the show with you guys, myself, in one of these upcoming years. Congratulations again, guys.
Hey, I'm just taking a break from my busy work schedule today to say happy anniversary to the Shirt Show. Go. Really enjoy you guys. Have fun.
Andy, Dylan, thanks for all you do for this industry. Congrats on 3 years, and let's keep it moving.
Dylan and Andy, it's Lena with Becker Supply. Just wanted to say congratulations on 3 years, and we are so grateful for everything you guys do for the industry. Keep it up. Bye.
Andy, Dylan, what's up? It's Kevin from Set Sales. 3 years, big deal. Congrats. I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for dinner last night. Appreciate what you guys do for the industry.
Hey, this is John from Black Dog Printing. Congrats to Dylan and Andy on 3 years, man. Keep killing it, guys.
Hey there, Andy and Dylan. Matt with Mid-Atlantic Screen Printing here. Congratulations on the 3-year anniversary. Keep up the great work, and I look forward every Monday to your shirt show coming out. Thanks.
Shirt show rocks. Happy anniversary, 3 years, Dylan and Andy.
What's up, Andy and Dylan? It's Liam from Floodpool. Just wanted to say happy anniversary on the shirt show. You all do such amazing work, and I don't know if you realize the impact you're having on the industry, but it's gigantic. You're great people. You're just a joy to listen to week after week. So keep it up. Stay hydrated. Break a piñata. Love you.
Hey guys, Allison from Custom Crew Air in Fort Myers. Just saying, shout out, happy anniversary, 3 years. Keeping us all connected, learning, and for not making Mondays suck anymore. Love you guys.
Hey guys, it's Gabe from Maybe Tomorrow. It's pretty cool that you've been dating all this time.
What is up, Shirt Show dudes? Rodney here at Don't Lose Hope. Just want to say, Andy, Dylan, congratulations on your latest milestone. You guys are killing it. Thank you so much for all that you do and bringing the community together. Cheers to 3 fucking years,
Lisa from DLA Screen Print. Happy 3-year anniversary to your guys' sweet voices serenading us through speakers and headphones.
Hey, this is Lucas with Graphic Source. Just want to say to Andy and Dylan, thank you for everything you've given to all of us in this industry. We really do appreciate you.
There you go.
Hey, what's up, Dylan and Andy? I kind of got this video like on a last minute thing from Christina, so I'm blaming you, Christina. I've heard it's a 3-year anniversary, so first off, I listen to every pod. Like, we're talking literally everyone. If I can't listen to it on Apple, like I'm watching it on YouTube. So first off, it's kind of the industry update every Monday. So if I drive into work, hit it, and then I hit it on the drive home. So it starts out every Monday, right? But 3 years, we're stoked to be a sponsor. You guys kill it. Love you. Like, I genuinely love you guys. So.
Happy anniversary from Sam Shirts.
Hey guys, it's Nikki. Congratulations on 3 years. You've done a ton for the industry. Christina just hit me up. I'm on an 18 hole, so hope you're having a good day. Happy Memorial Day. Looking forward to more you do for the industry. Peace out.
Hey Andy and Dylan, happy 3rd anniversary. We love what you do. We love watching you. This is Dawn and Joe from E2 Embroidery in Kansas City.
Congratulations, guys. Hi, I'm Seth with Printed Threads, and today we're celebrating 3 years of Shirt Show. That's a lot of time to talk about.
Hey guys, it's John and Jules from Logo Daddy. We're at the lake.
Hey.
We just wanted to say happy 3-year anniversary to Dylan and Andy. Great job, guys. Love the show. Love you guys. See you soon. Get your asses to the lake. Bye.
Andy, I love it when you call me early in the morning. Waking up to your voice just soothes me.
Hello, my dudes. I want to wish you a very, very big congratulations on 3 years of Shirt Show. You guys are killing it. We need more Dylan, more Andy. We need 3 million trillion more years of Shirt Show, and you guys keep kicking ass. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy to have you guys a part of my life. You mentor me all the time. I'm going to cry. But I really appreciate you guys, and I love you for you, and keep doing you guys, and I wish you all the best and all the success in the world. Cheers and congrats.
Hey, it's Adrienne Palmer from Screen Printing Magazine. Congratulations on 3 years of Shirt Show. Thanks for everything you do for the industry.
Happy 3-year anniversary.
You guys have been doing it long enough. It's okay to throw in the towel.
Hey, this is Tim with Night Owls, and I just want to wish you guys congratulations on 3 years, and here's to many more.
Shirt Show! Dylan and Andy, you guys have got me through plantar fasciitis, back pain, and the great
baby wipe shortage of 2020. I love you both from the bottom of my heart. Congrats on 3 years.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shirt Show. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, guys. Hey, thank you so much for all that you do for our industry, what you do for me, for processing issues that my business needs, for being a lighthouse amongst like the storms in the screen printing world. What you guys are doing is for printers, by printers, and everybody knows it. That's why you're the best. Love you, Dylan. Love you, Andy. You men make me better. You make my shop better. Oklahoma Shirt Company is better because of Shirt Kong and because of Upstate Merch and because of Shirt Show. Thank you for guys doing what you do for the right reasons. I love you. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to do this again next year. And at 10 years, we're going to throw a hell of a party. I can't wait to see you next. Congratulations. You certainly deserve it.